goes to Restream.io now. Yeah, now it's receiving on Restream.io. This is stupid. Why wasn't it working through the other one? It sucks because of scene side. I wanted to have them both.
I think we're live, dude.
Yeah, we're live. We are live indeed. Well, I guess we're only gonna do it on Twitch and then archive it. Sorry, scene set guys. I will have to figure it out why I can't have it on both. So welcome everyone to Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000 Season 5 Episode 1, apparently. We have Alkama and Abductee with us. And we are going to talk about Revision 2020 that just ended a little while ago. And was fucking awesome.
It was a crazy party.
It was really. So first things that I wanted to mention was Meteorics Awards. We have a page for the Meteorics Awards, which I will show here while I pause this, and we can talk a little bit about them. Let's not watch the demo. Let's watch the Meteorics page. So I'm gonna paste you guys the link as well here on the whereby, so you can see this. Well, it's the Meteorics page pretty much, but the winners of the Meteorics, so we can talk a little bit about them. So new talent, we had Newson and Walden win the new talent thing. I think it was really cool and deserved as well. Sintel and Patet also got the nomination. It's pretty nice as well. The other ones, Almagest, Bitnefer, and Foco for Sacrificio and Close for Dopamine. I think we had a lot of good new talent entries in 2019. And I liked the award going out to Nusan and Valden in particular. I think Nusan has been doing some awesome stuff. And Valden helping him with music, obviously. You know Nusan a little better than I do, Alkama. So what did you think about the new talent award?
So I think it's very much deserved because he's done tons of cool things, including for the scene itself. Like I know that he's streaming a lot, doing all those shader streaming. Like he used to be very regular on Twitch, doing live shading, and also teaching lots. Like he found tons of tricks that a lot of the people that you see in the shader showdown are reusing. Like most of the regular streamer in this are
I learned a
learning
lot
from each other. Like Luna, Luna Sorcery, so that you know in the scene as
YX, yeah.
Flopin, of course.
Evil, of course.
Evil is
And
so
Writer, I think Writer
regular.
also been streaming a little bit.
Yeah, no, he has done a lot of like daily release on Shader Toys. And basically we are all on the same channel in Discord and discussing a lot, but whenever they stream, it's always new discoveries, new sharing, new tricks, like how to do perfect transparency, or how to do glow, how to do subsurface scattering, and such things, but in a fake way, like not doing the true physical way, like IQ would do and describe exactly how it works, but more like how to make it fast. Then Evil is always optimizing it to like golfing it to be very small, and we learn a lot because we always find new stuff and share new stuff. So awesome community, and I think it brings a lot also with it enlarged now with the Cookie Collective, which is the cookie group, the cookie demo group. They do a lot of in real life activity, like they organize tons of meetings in Paris or in France, sometimes outside even. So they bring tons of new people to the scene because those events that they organize are with artists, like other kind of digital artists that didn't face demoscene before, and suddenly this audience is seeing the demoscene and says, "Oh, but it somehow matches." Like I've seen things in museums that are less designed than demoscene and vice versa. So very enriching. And Yusan is part of this club, is part of this group. So it's always great to see. And basically, just like Flopin, they joined the demoscene because of the Shader Showdown. So it's a very
It's really cool. We had like a very huge wave of French newcomers that was pretty much coming from Cookie. And at some point, Cookie Party was like the only party that was happening in. Well, maybe not the only one. I think there were some or more in the southern. Yeah. But
it's small. It's a small subset. An important one. We don't want to lose that small subset. But compared to Germany or other countries, we are very low in number of parties.
Yeah, now
demoscene related.
now it seems to have like a small comeback for the French team. So yeah, it was really cool to see this award going out for Newson. I think he totally deserved it. I think there was a really good release. On best soundtrack, we had you winning. You won the best soundtrack, and you were like, your acceptance speech was like, "Oh my god, this was a mistake. This can't possibly be true."
It is a steal. It's a total steal because. Like, I think I will wake up at one point. It's impossible that I actually won.
I had this very weird dream. We had revision. I won the best soundtrack award.
Guys, like this is no. But look at who are in this category. You take Atlas, that had me cry, like really cry, at the party place. Like I was surrounded with 1,000 people and I cried. So basically, okay, so that's Nobi on the music. You had Gargai, you had Alter, like Lesnik, that did a crazy, like, listen to the Mara track.
I thought like, Eon would win. I think Eon would win because the soundtrack carried that demo so well. So I really thought that Eon was going to take the...
Hoffman, Eon, like, if you talk about carrying a production, when you take Eon, so my only interpretation is that all of those, they won other award in other category. So my interpretation, like my escape, is that we were only in this category. So maybe we had this one only because, like, you know, not only because for me, like, the true winning is to be nominated. Being this list is already, like, we were completely hyped. Winning, frankly, it's strange. It feels very, very strange. It feels bitter for the other one.
Yeah, you feel bad for the other folks.
Yeah.
Definitely. Someone was asking on the chat, why were you under your blanket the whole time?
So basically, like, I was absolutely...
you had no conditions to film it outside. There was too much light.
But for me, it was absolutely sure that I wouldn't win. It's impossible. And everybody was telling me it will be Eon, it will be Hoffman. For me, I was rooting for Nobi a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Hoffman, Lesnik, like this Mara track. But he was nominated so many times. So... But for me, it was impossible that I won, so I already won by being nominated. So basically, I said, okay, I have 1 hour to do this video because they started pinging me on IRC, and I said at midnight, well, let's make a fun one. So I took this little beast here that I brought back from assembly in Finland. As you can see, I call him Tom because Tom of Finland, of course.
Yeah, of course. And that looks very mental. That looks just like Tom of Finland.
So basically, and I said, okay, let's do it undercover because being nominated is undercover. So I just literally made a fun with I'm undercover, but I cut the joke at the ceremony, so you don't see the end where I say I'm go back undercover and putting back the cover. So the joke is broke. So now I look stupid. And this has been broadcast because for me it's like I made it like with a phone and stuff.
So it was all a conspiracy. Anyways, let's move on. We still have a lot of stuff to talk about. Best Visuals Award went for Atlas by Moda and Macau Exports. I was thinking Midim by Alter would win. Also Transformers 3 was nominated, Rainbow Clash was nominated, and Dope and Wax was nominated. So I really like the visuals on Atlas, don't get me wrong, but I really thought Minim would win that one. Abductee, you've been silent all this time. You have any opinions on the Meteorix Award?
I'm totally with that one. So I'm a bit of a sucker for like everything space, and I think Mercury is also like a secret space group. We have our own astrophysician. So I think Macau Exports totally deserved. And again, I am very biased when it comes to like rockets and going to the stars. So yeah, sorry.
Mercury has a lot of history of putting planets and rockets and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right? So it's easy.
Okay, so the next award, Best Direction, went for Eon by The Black Lotus. The other nominees were A Resolute Purpose by Matt Current, Atlas by Monada and Macau Exports, Falspire, and Mara by Altair. I was expecting either A Resolute Purpose or Atlas to win this one, but it ended up being Eon. I guess Eon deserves it. I mean, it was pretty good in terms of direction. So
it's completely storytelling. So like for me, it's really told as a complete story. So for me, it makes sense that visual goes to Monad and all, but Aeon, like of course the direct, like if you think about it, like you have a full story that is unfolding on your eyes.
Yeah.
So
And it's like they really took advantage not only of the storytelling that they wanted to give, but also the capabilities of the machine and changing back to different ways of doing things to keep the storyline going. My cat is meowing if you hear some weird noises. So I really think that worked out. Outstanding technical achievement went for The Brain by Painless Coders and the Planet Moments. I'm all for the Planet Moments getting an award. I'm not sure this was the best award they would like to have. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guys are completely stoked about it, but I really think that Eon by Black Lotus really broke a lot more limits of the machine. Even though it was a first that someone did something in MATLAB, it's really just an OpenGL canvas that they have there, even if it has its limits. And I don't know. I feel like Eon was a bit stolen here on this particular category. Well, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the direction side, I think it was there was a game on the Amiga that had like a bit of the look. The name escapes me for the moment, but for me it was like this because I played that game back on Amiga when I had my Amiga for 2 weeks before I switched to PC. And for me, that was like quintessential Amiga to like take this style of this game where you're on like a planet and run around as like a guy and so on and so forth. So yeah, but I agree that it was a bit of a steal in the other competition. Yes.
but there always a still, like as I said, that's why it's impossible. Like at the same time, have you seen other MATLAB demo?
Nope.
When you see people do stuff with MySQL and things like that, like if we are talking about pure technical achievement, like it doesn't need to be a lengthy stuff that takes years. It also sometimes is just unlocking a platform. Look at the past technical achievement, like this phone demo and stuff like that. Here, like I agree that Aeon is completely crazy, and you have to read, like if you haven't read yet the extensive blogs that they have about the technology
Yeah, that's a
behind
must read.
it is like, don't read a book, read that. This is insane. It's just as suspenseful, and you are rooting from them. So reading the technicalities, it's insane. But
Even the music alone had a lot of tricks to get everything working. I saw Hoffman give a little, I
yes,
think it was a live stream that he did explaining all the stuff, and it was just that was a lot of work. So I imagine for the visuals, all the stuff that they had to do.
but again, don't feel like it's honorable mention. And for me, I'm never in the jury of Meteorix. I'm always sometimes presenting it, like the last 2 years. But basically, with the help of Dojo, of course. But for me, like it's a nomination that counts. In a way, the nomination
Yeah, the
is
nomination already validates all the
the
work that you've
rest.
been
When you
doing.
have 5 of them, they are already excellent. Like in the scene, we have a tons of excellent production. Being in those 5-1 is already something that is crazy. Winning is, well,
And it's all like it's 3 people in the jury usually, so it boils down a lot to personal preference. So it's really
yes.
hard.
Let me
It's always
touch on that
subjective.
when you said alkama. I think like it's a really good problem to have when you have 5 things that are like really good. I mean, look at what would be the opposite of that. That would be you have like 4 that are kind of meh, and everybody already knows which one's gonna win. So that would be kind of not so cool. But we have like 5 that are like so good that it's like everybody who gets it is basically a steal. So I think that's a nice problem to have, you know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. It's more exciting at least. Megademica was also pretty good achievement. I mean, the amount of content that they had in the fork was just completely insane. And Into War also pretty good. I didn't quite understand why Newton Protocol was there. I mean, I get that the ray tracing is quite advanced, but I mean, it's possible to do that on the machine. It wasn't like breaking any new
No, but
new
in the web,
terrain.
in the web, like, and if you remember, you have to remember the impact. We are human beings, so basically, if you when you were at the party, when this was broadcast, it was mind blowing in a way. Like it was really a clash. So we also remember what we felt. I guess so. If I was in the jury, I wouldn't mind having it here. So.
Okay, outstanding concept. Transformer 3 by Limp Ninja 1. A Resolute Purpose didn't even get an honorable mention. Then Club Asm, Genesis, and Minim. I don't really remember Genesis that well, or at all, to be honest.
It's a little known jewel. You have to watch it. It has a very science fiction feel.
I guess we can watch it right now. I mean, we
Yeah,
don't
we
have
might.
anything better to do, right? Let's take a look at what Genesis was exactly. If I can get it to play. Come on, just play. So was this that Matt Curran demo from Yobe? That was really good. I really liked it. I liked his other stuff a bit better, but this one specifically because it was about suicidal tendencies. I really felt that it was like an important topic and done in a very tasteful way. So an important topic to cover that was done in a tasteful way in a demo, which really proves that you can do a demo about anything and still make it cool.
If you have taste.
If you have taste,
Yeah, don't
it
try
helps.
to pick a hard topic if you are not ready to.
And where was this released? Do you remember?
At Function, I think,
Okay.
if I'm correct. Might be wrong.
Yeah, it takes quite some time to build up.
The Club Asm demo was particularly interesting because it only used like Apple's way of showing text, so that was a clever thing, and I thought that was a worthy nomination. Transformer 3, I was a bit. I mean, it's a specific style, yeah, but it's not like they invented that style, so it was a bit. And
No,
it
but
wasn't
they-
the first time you've seen it in the demo scene, even though it was really well executed. So I was a bit weird. I felt a bit weird that it won the outstanding
Nah.
concept.
Well,
Like,
I mean, for space, it's always like a good sort of a rule of thumb to like stretch things a bit longer to like give you the impression that something is like really big, or it takes long to get from here and there to there, and the size of the planet's not really changing over a long time. So for Fermi Paradox, there was like one of our design rules, so to speak, was to never show the full circle of a planet. Only show
Yeah.
like part, so it makes it look bigger, right? And so here we see like the same thing, but with a time dilation, where you see only like tiny hints that you're moving, and this gives you like this sense of like, oh, this is like big in space and there's
Yeah.
a long distance you can travel. Yeah, I like that. It's a very sciencey approach to do a thing like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Feels like
it's an
the-
interesting demo. It's very cinematic. I don't see where the original concept is on it, but okay,
extremely
maybe
like-
that's just
feels
me
like
being
the
picky.
50s. Feels like the 50s. And I don't agree with you, PS, on the on the Transformer 3 one.
On Transformer
the
3?
lasers, like,
I'm gonna play it that one as well while we're at it. But please, okay, so tell us, why don't you agree with me? Why did you think it was a worthy winner?
Too loud. Yes.
Lower it on Watch Together,
No. So yeah, so why I disagree because
or I lower it here. Okay.
in a demo, you might have innovators that do very special technical things, and you have the one that don't really care about the technicalities and just turn what they do into plain magic. And frankly, I don't care if it's easy. I don't care if it's hard. In this case, this one it's a fantastic clap in the face. Like you are slapped violently by this demo.
I
When you
really
watch
loved
it
it
on a
when it
big
came out.
screen,
I just didn't really understand why it was considered an original concept.
For me, like first, like there is almost all the text is completely like you don't have a translation. Only on YouTube you have subtitles to understand what happens. Like for me, it's completely original. I haven't seen like since then they've done tons of variation of this one. So maybe that's why you are biased because they did tons of iteration of this one. But
It reminds me a lot of Digital's Republic, I think it's called. Arts Digital Republic, something like that. The guys that
Yeah.
did the design for Wipeout and stuff like that
but,
years ago.
The Designer Republic, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. That's the name.
Yeah, I guess it's somehow inspired, at least. But if you say so, like Made has tons of inspiration of that with the way to use typography and stuff like that. This goes a bit beyond, I think. Like at least it's animated and for me it's fantastic. Like, and the soundtrack is.
I really like the demo. Don't get me wrong here. I was just surprised that it won the award and that it got nominated.
It's worth to be in the
but I really like it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
what did me about it is how good and how clean the rendering is. So like, you know, doing all those things without like having a tiny little glitch here and there. And this is like really done to perfection. So I think it deserves the award.
I don't know how many years it would take me to do something like that. Look at all the micro animations, the synchronization. You don't even know where they happen, but they happen and there are tons of changes. Like, it's not just random cosines or stuff like that, right? Everything is
tightly synced, yeah.
It's like making a watch. Like, I think Bruce on this one has actually done maybe he's Swiss.
Anyways, the next entry on Meteorix was the best low-end production. It was won by Eon by Black Lotus. Honorable mention to Megademica 4K by Sirsoft and Gasman. Other nominations: EO Demo by Shiru, Rivalry by Bonsai Sensor Design, Fairlight Genesis, and Tiratok by Demarch. I think this was a worthy winner. Eon really blew everything out of the park. The other demos were really good, but I think Eon was pretty much uncontested. Best small high-end intro, we had Then and Before by Altair winning that one. Ice Snares got an honorable mention by LJ and Virgil. And then Haunted by Loonies, Half-Bit Cheese, Newton Protocol, and Terrarium by EOS. I think it was a worthy winner. I really liked that intro. I guess we can watch it right now while we wait for something else. Let me play it real quick.
It's certainly crazy. Like, all the scenes in this one is...
We've been having a lot of quality intros being released on recent times, which is really cool to see.
I agree.
Especially the 4K, and we saw that again on during revision itself. Like the 4K compo was completely mind-blowing. Once again, like last year was already so tight, and this year was just
cool entries after cool entries.
Yeah, and in
you
comparison,
wish you had a big screen to watch that.
In comparison, the 8K was like meh.
Yeah,
so I don't know. There was even we were having a debate on the Discord channel, like if it does make sense to have an 8K and 64K compo where we don't have that many entries. And for me, I don't think it does, but a lot of people were disagreeing with me.
No,
so
I don't think we want to go to the... Like, you don't want to demote unless there is almost no one participating. You don't want to break a category. Because you... Like, look, no one participated in 8K.
8K we had two compo fillers pretty much,
yeah.
And the console thing was cute, was interesting. It wasn't like anything insanely awesome. It was good though. I think it deserved to win. And the other two by Altercross were pretty much compo fillers. I think themselves weren't expecting to win anything. They just wanted to make sure the compo would take place.
I think they were asked to actually fill in for the compo.
So that's a bit weird, you know.
I don't want to sort of, but to me it seems like 8K is like a bigger commitment than like a 4K, and a lot of people are still kind of adjusting to like the current situation. And I think if the current situation was like either a month earlier or like a month later, we would have had like a completely different party with different releases, and we wouldn't have this discussion about like the 8K.
Yeah,
thing is, when the 8K was first suggested, a lot of people were rooting for it and thinking, oh, okay, I already did most of the limits that I could do in 4K, I'm gonna move on to 8K, but then they did like one release in 8K and don't have time to do both compos. So I wonder at what point does it make sense to have both 4K and 8K compos at revision.
the idea of the 8K was basically, if you want to do like a decent 4K, you're like limited to a one-trick pony. So let's ease it up a bit and like do an 8K. But now we have like a 265 byte compo with like multi-part entry. So
Yeah.
But the music is still kind of lacking, except for El Mood and people like that. But like music-wise, if you still have to. But problem is that the trend is going down. I agree with that. Like doing maybe to 1K at one point or something like that, not moving up.
I hope not.
Anyways, let's keep going with the laureates so we can close this part of the stream and focus on revision itself. Best high-end 64K went for Dope on Wax by Logicoma.
Oh.
Atlas could have won this easily, and I think no one would have minded much, except maybe the Logicoma guys, of course. The other entries were good, but I have a sweet spot for Atlas because I really like the cinematic vibe on it.
I very like the polarity.
Yeah, the polarity entry was good as well, but it had some flaws in my humble opinion. I love YX and the work she does.
They have margin. They have margin of improvement.
Yeah. I think it could have went even another step to make it really memorable or more memorable than it already was. And in that regard, I like Dope on Wax and Atlas a lot more. I think they went the full length and make sure that it was like a very solid entry.
I will not contradict that, but again, we shouldn't we should never get used to anything, which means we shouldn't say like, for example, or imagine that because Logicoma already won or we are used to great quality, we should expect more and then lower our expectation or stuff like that. For me, it's still like Dope on Wax is a fantastic pod. Like all of the ones that were selected here, but Dope on Wax is really a summit of it's a submit of tons of work. So I think it's really it has really tons of technical aspect to it.
Yeah, they did a write-up as well on Dope on Wax. It was pretty cool to
they have
read
YouTube
as well.
video covering every single part of it. Like it's like
moving on, best high-end demo was won by Mara by Altair. I was actually expecting Minim by Altair to win this one, or Aurora, but it was Mara. Okay.
Yes.
I can live with that, I guess.
So,
do you guys have any comments on this category?
It would have been fun if Gargai had won with the pile driver, just for the sake of his fantastic comment on this production. Like,
yeah, the
if he
info
had
file.
won the best high-end with that prod, like just for the fun of.
From what he told me, he was actually the info file came across as like it was a pain for him, but I think at the same point he was making a criticism of the demo scene itself.
Yes.
That the demo scene wants this and they don't want anything else. And if Piledriver had won, he would have been proven that he's completely right and that the demo scene only wants this kind of high sync, high speed Norwegian drum and bass soundtracks, whatever you call it, big bass, and in your face with graffitis and robots and that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, I can like those kind of demos, but I also like other stuff. Abductee, you were saying?
Yeah, so if you have like two demos from the same group and you're like, which one is the better, or you have two that you can't really decide about, there's a trick that I actually learned from Manx is listen to them without the sound and look at it and see how much they get carried by the sound or how much they get rescued, so to speak, by the sound. And then, yeah.
I really liked Minim better because it felt just more fresh, like different idea out of the box than the other stuff.
Yes, but Mara, like...
Mara had a good cinematic feel to it, but at the same point it felt like it had something missing, but I think that's just me being picky. I think I was expecting a little bit more, like a few more scenes or different camera cuts somehow, and I felt a bit cheated in that regard, but the demo is really good. I give them that.
It's already, like, frankly, the way the camera is placed, I don't care about its movement, but the way it's placed is... Frankly, it looks very pro. It looks like a true video thing that could be played on a TV channel. The music is something like. Let's not talk about the music. It's insane, and Like the overall, like the ambience of this production is very special also. You don't see
Yeah.
that often.
I'm
Like,
gonna play
so-
it as we talk of the other categories, because I think it's gonna be brought up again. Oh, this was the last one. So, okay. So this was the best demo of 2019. Okay. I feel it could be better. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being me. I don't know. I apologize to the guys from Altair. Anyways, revision. Let's take a look at the compos, at what happened. It's all a blur in my head, but I guess we should go by the compos as they happened and just talk of our favorite entries. So I'm going to take a look at the time schedule, if I still have a link for that somewhere. Revision demo party. And hopefully most of the stuff is on YouTube already.
yes.
Timetable. Which is a weird statement to say from a demo scene live stream, but that's the age we win in. So the first compo that actually happened was the track music compo. It's kind of hard to show them here. Alkama, did you pay attention to it specifically? Do you want to mention something?
It will be hard. I think, if I remember correctly, let me check.
I'm gonna open the results just to tell you who won and all that jazz.
I remember the Saga Music's entry for sure, which was pretty cool.
That's a pretty generic talk to any tracker compo, because Saga Music always delivers an entry for any tracked music compo. Virgil won the compo.
Yeah. So Virgil, of course.
In the chat, if Paulo is still flagged by Google.
No,
So
it's
there's
not. There was an issue, if you didn't realize, last night around midnight, Google started flagging Paulo for being a source of malware, because it links to, you know, intros that were compressed and stuff like that. So it started flagging everything, and people who had YouTube videos with links to Paulo started getting notifications that their link was removed and stuff like that. Also on Firefox, if you would go to Paulo on Firefox, there was, since they used the same system to detect malware as from Google, they were also banning Paulo, so you couldn't access Paulo. You could if you would say, I'm fine with getting malware, but most people don't click that.
On Firefox it was even hard, because you had to also unlock the CSS, so you had to open the source code of the page and go to the CSS and unlock the CSS too, or the site was completely broken.
So
it was annoying.
yeah. We had that issue, but luckily Garguy was on top. He immediately started pinging people who, we actually have demo sceners that work at Google that were extremely helpful. He tried to contact Google contacts directly, but they were bouncing, so he contacted Mr. Doob. LLB was also around, who also apparently works at Google, and Winden, who also works at Google, was also around. They flagged stuff internally, and they got the issue resolved pretty much within a couple of hours. But it really scares me, like, if we didn't have demo sceners working at Google and available on Discord on that specific hour, we would have had the site down for pretty much the peak time where people are trying to check the releases from the most famous demo party of the year. So it's a bit scary in that regard. Luckily it got resolved and things seem to be fine right now, but it's an ongoing issue. And we had this issue before with antivirus just flagging intros just because they use a compressor.
Yes, it must be those intelligent heuristics everybody keeps talking about.
Yeah, machine learning. It does the hard work for you. Yeah. Anyways, we were talking about track music compo. Virgil won that, followed by Trias, I don't know how you're supposed to say it, and Aceman got third place. I don't really remember the tracks. I watched like half of them. I was even voting, and then my kid pulled a tantrum. I had to hold him, and and I lost track of the track music compo.
In my memory, the Virgil one was kind of retro, and I like that a lot. It reminded me of the old school time.
Anyways, moving on with the track music compo, we had a lot of seminars as well that were pretty interesting. I think the award for the most interesting seminar goes to Ferris. He had a peak of 3,500 people, watching people talk about compression and no one was complaining. They were actually asking questions. Rig was there. He was talking back and forth with Ferris about tricks on compression. I think a lot of people learned a lot about compression. It was a really good session to witness.
We'll have to rewatch it with a 0.5 speed, you know, because he also compressed a lot of work.
Ferris typically speaks fast, so so it was a bit hard to follow.
And it was like, wow,
that really deserved like 2 hours just to cover all of that, but it was really good. I learned a lot from compression just from watching that. And
it becomes like a series where he like dives deeper into certain aspects.
I think he already has done that. Like he has tons of, like he also Twitch a lot, or he used to Twitch a lot, and I see continues to do that. And he also had like back in 2018, so long ago, he already had some lengthy session.
Yeah, because
he explains the concept and all. Like I think there are at least 3 videos in his YouTube where you can learn about compression, like basically the pack compression, like all the statistic ones, and also one on low-end computers. Like he did one for a low-end
SNES maybe, or Game Boy.
I think it was for the NES, where he reused some techniques like that. So he has very interesting stuff.
Yeah, because he says he's been working on this compressor for their 64K for like at least over 3 years, maybe 4. So it's, and I mean, to be so knowledgeable on that specific thing, you really need to spend a lot of time reading about it and testing stuff. So it really. I don't know where Ferris gets his free time, really. He like does Rust, he does Game Boy, he does SNES, he does compression, he does...
He's insanely clever, that's it. Like, the problem is that we are just...
we are mere mortals and he's on another plane.
But yeah, but at the same time, the fun is that he transmits... what I like is that he always teach, he always shares. So somehow, even when you are stupid like me, you are like, oh, but
you get to learn something.
At least grab tiny pieces and say, okay, I will understand this and that, and I will be happy. So that's cool.
Moving on, competitions. We had Ashki and Nancy. I didn't catch it at all, so I'm gonna abstain from talking about it. Old school music compo. I also didn't catch much of it. Do you guys want to comment anything on that?
I passed this one. I think I was organizing, like, or I was preparing for one of the showdown when this one was playing. So no, I didn't follow this one.
Photo compo
Saturday because I was finishing the 4K graphics. So ask me about Sunday.
The photo compo is really good. Had some really good entries there. I think the top ones were by Maid and Eloy, so was really a lot of quality stuff. I was a bit sad that my entry didn't get selected, but well, it wasn't the compo winner anyway, so that was fine.
For me, I found it strange because I wasn't betting on Maid's one this time. I was betting on Eloy's one this time.
I think I liked Eloy's better as well. When I saw Maid's, and Maid's was shown after Eloy's. When I saw Maid's, I was like, oh, okay, it's good, but it's not as good as the previous one.
And at the same time, the photo that Maid did looks a lot like Eloy's videos, like
like abandoned places with a sole
for
person.
This one, I was like surprised. Like sometimes the voting is fun, but to each state, I don't blame it. It's cool.
Well, there were a few other entries, good entries as well. I don't remember the names exactly, so I'm gonna abstain from mentioning. Actually, I can take a look at the results and refresh myself. If I would put this on text mode, so
I
it's
love the
easier
Zavi one.
to
You
find.
remember the Hong Kong building? That was very cinematographic, also. Like just the color treatment was insane, and the ambience, the overall ambience, it was. Fantastic.
And second place was actually Step into the Unknown by Borg.
Yeah.
Okay. And Louisa's entry is also pretty good. Once Upon a Time in a Dream. Yeah, she got fourth place. That one was pretty good. Okay, moving on. Next compo, animation and video. I actually had an entry for this. And now, when I was watching the results, I was like, fuck, I'm not even on the top 6. I got 7th place. That's why I was not in the top 6. I wasn't expecting to win, but I was thinking, okay, maybe like 4th, something like that. People might, enjoy it, the demoscene references a little bit, stuff like that. Anyways, who won was Gaspod with Home Alone, and we have to see this. We have to. It's awesome.
You cannot fight Gaspod on videos. Like,
here we go. This was when this was played. I was like, okay, total compo winner. No debate about it whatsoever. What about you guys on the chat? Was this your favorite as well? Let us know. And second place was Expreca by Lauka.
I love this one.
Which was also pretty good. And I think it was like related to another entry they did, maybe at Function or Demo Bit. I'm not sure anymore. Or River Wash, something like that.
Yes.
Because I remember her and the video very similar to that. Maybe it was for another music of theirs, but I remember her. So I'm pretty sure
track,
we had something
I could totally
before.
listen to that or see that on TV. And, fantastic track, fantastic video. But Gaspod, like, you cannot beat Gaspod.
So yeah, for me, those were the two top entries. The rest, it could be pretty much anything. The drone thing with Cersei's music was also pretty decent. I thought it was a bit too short. It got 4th place. 3rd place was Unbroken by Bitfellas. I don't quite remember what it is anymore.
I don't remember this one.
And then Reborn. I think Reborn was the entry that got played after mine, made by some Hungarian guys that kind of looked like a demo. It was okay-ish. I thought it was a bit too short, but yeah, that's pretty much. The other stuff were moving on to the next compo, we had the PC64K intro, which was kind of a letdown.
The PC8K, yes.
64K.
No,
64.
64K? Oh, 64, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this year. Sometimes, wait for next year, guys. I'm sure everybody will join.
Yeah, it comes in cycles, I guess.
We had like planned to do a bit more, and like we even rented out like a house to like meet and do some coding and like see where we end up, and like everything got sort of scrambled around, and yeah. So again,
Was it coronavirus that Corona that stopped Mercury from doing a killer entry?
No. Well, yes, but no. But yeah, well, look again.
Maybe.
I'm saying if the whole global lockdown was like a month earlier or a month later, you know, when people have more adjusted to it, we would have seen like a different party. But it sort of hit like at the worst thing. And hey, big props to Defox and Jojo and like all the Orga team. They pretty much had the decision like I think around about 4 weeks before now, and they like bootstrapped this whole party in like 4 weeks, which is like a completely different party than they were preparing to prepare for.
Yeah.
So, and I am just happy that it was as good as it was, and except for like the bars in the prize giving, everything ran smoothly, which is a minor miracle. Or
how the hell did no one test the bars on the prize giving before going live? Like, you code the thing and you don't test the bars moving. Come on. That was just silly.
Maybe they tested it, but with a different browser, and suddenly
maybe it wasn't full screen. I don't know. How the hell can you fuck up CSS that bad? CSS doesn't. You don't fuck up CSS. CSS fucks you up.
It's fun. It's fun. For me, it's fun. Like, if it was plain perfect, it would be just boring, right?
Anyways, let's take a look at the 64K winner. Was called the Resimulated. Was by Gam0022 and Sadake. Apparently Japanese folks.
Yeah.
It was okay. I was just expecting more competition.
Yeah, I think like what I remember about this is, I mean, they're doing fractals, which is obviously like quote unquote the easy way out, but a lot of time when you see fractals, you see like these artifacts and these like woodliney things that are like jittering all around. And if I remember this to be the entry that I remember, then they got all of the things like pretty neat. So I hope I'm not remembering a different entry that had fractals.
There was one on the demo compo that had fractals and looked pretty neat by CCE of what's the group name? Pieski? Basic, that's it. So you might be remembering that one.
But the demo scene seems to have learned how to do fractals without like weird jittery artifacts, which is good.
Writer is wondering if this is shader sound. That's a good question. It might be also done on the shader. Is it... If it's WebGL, we can see. If it's not WebGL, then we can't. Oh, there is an online version. So, yeah, it might actually be done on the shader. I'm gonna put the URL here. And someone with a braver computer than me can check the source and let us know if it's made with
let's re-emphasize that every production we comment like it's tons of work to make anything and to release anything, and it takes also lots of courage to release that revision.
Yeah,
because the revision
with
is a scary party.
4,000 people watching.
and it's basically like the biggest one. So if you want to release something massive, you release there. So
what are the normal numbers of attenders at revision? What are the normal numbers of attenders at revision?
I think it's above 1,000, like 1,200 visitors or something, or 1,200 people constantly there. Probably more in the weekends that come by, but
and I remember being on the live streams. Well, the live streams at Revision have been on the front of Twitch page before,
yes.
And so it already got a lot of viewers. But I think we had a pretty good viewer count this year. Anyways, next compo, it's the Amiga intro compo, and we had two very good entries that I definitely have to mention. First one, Columbia by Lemon.
Yes.
Very old school looking, very tight.
I love it.
It's got second place.
It's almost the same team for the Lemon one. It's almost the same team than the Amiga demo that was just before Aeon on last year's revision.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure to see Dan, to see Sandy, to see Facet, Made, and also I don't think Made participate to this one, but it's awesome to see them back.
Old schoolers active again.
Yeah, because they also bring back this feeling of when we were debuting, you know, and they already were kicking ass. And, it feels fun. It's like a Madeleine de Proust, you know, like.
Yeah, and people tend to forget from like every time you see something on Amiga, it's like so impressive, but if you just look at like the bare metal numbers, then an Amiga is not fast enough to decode like an MP3 with like a decent bitrate in real time. So this is always like in the back of my mind when I see these things. And you always have to come up with like cool tricks to be. I mean, all of these things have music that is like relatively decent. So.
A lot of the little tricks that they do here, like not using all the pixels on the screen.
That's old trickery. Yeah. Tons of people used to do that back in the days.
And the transition that they use after it as well, like the pixels also going, it's really cool.
Yeah, okay, Jasmine in the chat says the 060 can do that. But basically, that's always what I say. If you see Amiga, it's good. But if you see 060, for me, you are watching somehow an early DOS demo. Right? 6 megahertz, you have floating point unit, you have tons of things. So it's a very different category for me. So I never judge the same.
It's not the real Amiga. It's a hyped Amiga.
Yeah. Also, like one of the things I think is funny about like the whole Amiga compos thing is if you have like a new person on a demo party and you try to explain to them like the Amiga compo, and then you have like all these different versions of the Amiga. So I think with like the what is it called, like the way they structured it now, I think it's a bit more intuitive for new people to like figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
The way they structured it right now is that you can't buy an Amiga anymore. They're really expensive, so no one gets one, and the problem is solved.
Yeah, especially the expansion board. Like if you're trying to buy a 060 nowadays, it's like wow. If you imagine the price it is now, it's like wow.
Anyways, this was second place. The first place went for Logicoma and Loonies with Way Too Rude. Hoffman was coding this all party long. He would like stop to say something on the chat because he had a DJ set scheduled for the Shader Showdown. So we were in constant communication asking for his attention, and he was like, okay, this is done. Can I go code now? Because I need to finish the thing. It's not finished yet. And it reminds me a lot of Every Way, which is, I guess it's unavoidable. I kind of like Every Way better, but this one is just different, so I can appreciate the difference as well, and I like this a lot. For those who don't know, it uses an engine developed by Blueberry. I think it's called Rose.
Rose, yes. It's some kind of language, I think.
Which you can define shapes and how the shapes move. It's like a very advanced turtle system in a way, from what I understood of the definition. I never tried it, but it looks pretty good when Hoffman uses it.
When Hoffman uses it, like that's you said everything. Yeah. Like this guy is so crazy talented in everything that you cannot.
It's the usual thing of you put a musician doing the syncs and you have all this very tight stuff going.
Imagine if this was released back in the days. This music, this synchro.
I always think about, there's these people that do like 3,000 colors on a C64. If you had like a time machine and would go back to like the early 80s and like show this to somebody on Commodore, or just tell people that you could do it, they would send you to like the nut house, right?
I think the palette tricks, like even back then, very early. I'm from the demoscene of the 90s, let's say. Tons of tricks were found. Making cool effects with those tricks is the hard part, but like having more color than the Amiga can produce, this was already a big game. What is fun for me is the style that has changed. Like if you remember those ones, or if you remember like the Lemon one, the Lemon production, and you play this kind of style or this kind of music style now, would have been very like an alien shock, basically. So it's more for the style that I'm saying that. Technically, I think that on a lot of platforms, maybe not on C64, but on Amiga and all, except for Eon and some rare case, I think the demo that were back then are way more powerful. Like if you remember Andromeda and stuff like that, demos back in the day were not crappy at all. Like, and I think we still have a lot to learn from the old school coders of back then. So I'm not really sure that we improved, we evolved basically. Except for some very specific platform. I think on Speki they still create stuff. On CPC, I know that the scene is very lively and doing stuff that were never done before.
But that's mostly because the older CPC scene was not that prominent, from what I understood.
Yeah.
So they hadn't really explored the machine that well or to its full potential.
Yeah, they explore it with tooling nowadays, which is fun. Like when you think that they make tools on PC and all to create or to generate stuff or to explore new stuff on those machines. I find it fabulous. Like.
Way too rude. Way too rude. So rude.
It's all gonna be a meme and on t-shirts.
It will.
Stylish font and it works, so.
Anyways, after the Amiga intro compo, we had, for me, the best compo at the party, which was the PC 4K intro compo.
Oh, yeah.
Really good. Wish I could show you, I don't know, half the entries that were released there. I don't think we have time for that, though, so I'm gonna stick with the top 3. I'm gonna start already with the one that got third place, which was Wackelkontakt by Alcatraz and Prism Beings.
Slurpee and Nobi.
It's just amazing. that the
Don't
4K quality keeps. I mean, I thought it had already reached its peak, and that people would start shifting into either going to make demos or 64Ks or 8Ks, but people still having fun with the 4K category.
Constantly exploring, I think, and there are. Like, I'm still curious if someone will try to exploit DirectX 12. Probably not Vulkan on 4K, but DirectX 12 maybe. To try to have some RTX and do some path tracing with that. Would be fun. I don't
RTX
know
on.
Yeah, it could be, because tons of 4K are now doing path tracing. I think you could unleash new potential by being way faster on the intersection scene. Like
Yeah, I think like I just want to say, like, in comparison to like the 8K, I think the 8K still needs its FR08 moment to like really pop, and we have seen it in 4K as IQ did with Elevated, and we have seen it with FR08 in 64K. And I think for 8K, that pop moment, that oh my god, this is possible, holy shit, we have to do something about it, we have to compete in there, that moment just hasn't happened yet. And I think maybe we should give it a couple more years, so let's see.
maybe that will be the trigger, huh? Be able to access to new API and to new stuff that cannot be done in 4K.
Might
That
be.
might be a
I don't know, I'm a bit weary. I think I kind of wish that we would declare that the 4K is closed and have everyone move into the 8K. I know it's not gonna happen. It's just a daydream of mine, okay? I know it's not gonna happen. Don't start flaming me. But I think that would be the only way to really have people really taking the 8K really seriously.
Yeah, no, but I think at some time we will have overload of things, like everything. Like we will get bored, or we'll not find new stuff, or we'll have tons and tons of the same thing, and suddenly it will evolve and change. Look at simple remarching, like a few years ago, everybody was doing the same demo,
Yeah.
and now suddenly they unleash path tracing, they unleash new things like this one, like kind of reaction diffusions, like. And now you
This
have
one, when I was playing this, people were saying res, and I'm like, this is not res.
No,
this
this
has
is
to be
not
the
res.
other Razer 1911
Anat.
guy, which
It's
is Anat.
You-
And I
you-
wondered who the hell did the music for this, because Razer only ever uses dub mode. This can't possibly be dub mode. Dub mode only does chip. Everyone knows that. It is dub mode. Fuckings to dub mode for doing cinematic, ambient,
fantastic.
4K, awesome sounds. And I
Oh,
have
did
no clue
somebody-
why this was played so early in the compo. This, for me, and it got second place, which totally deserved, in my humble opinion. This one was one of my favorites on the 4K compo for sure.
So it's fair to say that that mod subverted your expectations?
I don't personally like dub mood as a person. I think he's a bit too arrogant. So I don't really like him because of that, and he definitely subverted my expectations. Yeah, I think your statement is correct.
But we shouldn't judge people on what they are sometimes when they produce stuff.
It gives me a bad taste in the mouth, you know, when you know the person, you like their music, and then you know the person, and the person is an asshole. I'm not saying dub mood is an asshole in this particular case, but when the musician is an asshole, you're like, I have so much music I could listen. Why am I gonna listen to music of people that I know that they're not really nice?
I agree, but at the same time, sometimes people are not only assholes to everybody, so they have like you need to reach them. You need to.
I don't like people who are randomly assholes. Let's call it
Nah,
that.
yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, for me, it's not like you cannot.
You don't like to
not
judge
fair.
them
Yeah,
right away.
it's not
Yeah,
fair.
I
I
understand
get
that. I just don't have as much patience and love. I don't have as much love to give as you have,
But
Alkama.
look at the product. You don't need patience to realize that this is simply just fantastic. Whoever does it, it's fantastic. Okay. Maybe he kills a cat. I don't care. It's still a cool product.
Let's see what the chat says. Anything interesting? Oh yeah, the chat says 1080 is still sort of the limit on the user side. I tend to agree with it. Maybe it's for demo scene, maybe it's one generation out, but on the other hand, we always seem to be like cutting edge. So, but you always want to be accessible. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on what is the what can you expect from people who enjoy demo scene at home to have in terms of graphics card? Do you think we're still in a 1080 kind of level?
I think a lot of people have a high-end graphics card nowadays, just because of the gaming industry. So I think 1080 is acceptable in 2020.
I have one in my laptop. Like I have a 2070 RTX.
And most people watch demos on YouTube anyways, so which is sad, but it is what it is.
My only concern is that they only made available the Fun API to Vulkan and to DirectX 12, which is not helping a lot. Because for a lot of people, if you think about it, like if you're already on DirectX 11, what are you winning? Except those API, but you are losing lots of time and not gaining tons. You're already pretty optimal. And if you think OpenGL versus Vulkan, then the step is huge. I know that it makes a lot of sense. Once you are deep inside Vulkan, it actually makes tons of sense. And it's somehow reachable. Like people complain about the size, but if you take a very long production, the size in code is ridiculous. Like you reuse tons of elements and all. And it makes way more sense than OpenGL and trying to understand why something doesn't work as expected on OpenGL. Vulkan is pretty straightforward, but complex. And so I'm not sure that people will jump. My problem is that will people jump? I don't know. And
I've seen a lot of people already adopting Vulkan, so... And as more people adopt, more people will have like platforms already available for others to reuse.
And we had a fun discussion, like maybe middleware will start to be used just to make a fake OpenGL between.
Yeah, wasn't Kuzma that was working on something like that?
Kuzma was working on having OpenGL, I think, working on Vulkan. What I'm talking about is more like someone making a brand new framework with a fine API that would just be a bridge on Metal, DirectX, and all, a bit like RxGL, I think, exists like that. There are bridges like that. And maybe one will emerge and say, okay, this is what you dev with unless you really want to be bare metal. And because frankly, like the entrance level is too high for those API. And you don't want to lose.
Yeah, I heard a lot of stories of people trying to get stuff working on Vulkan and that they spent like a month just trying to figure out why the screen is black without getting any proper debug information or any proper documentation.
Yeah.
So that's a bit scary. I wouldn't touch that. I have better things to do with a month of my life, but apparently other people don't, so good for them. Anyways, let's move on. We saw Deck 2 by LJ and Virgil, a worthy winner of the 4K combo, in my humble opinion.
Yes.
I think everyone agrees on that. A lot of good entries on the 4K combo, though. I can't stress this enough. I really love the combo. Thank you, everybody who made an entry. Let's move on to the 256 bytes entry, and this entry in particular broke Truck. Truck couldn't speak after watching this.
It's insane. It's unfair. Like what? 7 scenes?
Something like that. If you count the transitions.
It's unfair. And even the music.
And it has music, yeah. It's just MIDI, but it has music. Most of the entries on the 256 bytes did not have music, so.
Yes, and I think again towards like the 8K was so you can make a 4K that's not a one-trick pony and have like more than one scene, and it's like yeah, but there's this 265 bytes. It has like 8 scenes, so what do you make of that? I think it's brilliant.
It's magic at this time. Like I don't even want to imagine what it takes to think at this level, to make so many stuff and try to have code that is actually working for all of them.
Yeah, no, I totally second that, Alkama, because to me this is like this is like the magic trick where I don't go to the magician and let them show how it's done because I want to still like wonder about it myself. So I'm probably not gonna like put this one into a disassembler and check how.
I think most of Helmut's entries have the source code available though. Not sure if this one has.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm not really sure that it helps because at this point, I know so little line of code. It's just like tons of things are wrapped. Like, it's not just one expression doing one thing in a way. It's like to get all those effects, you need to think about what can be packed together. And this is a puzzle that is like.
Moving on, we had the old school demo compo, and this was done apparently by a scener from Chile, from what I heard. I hope I'm not mistaken. It's called Merken by Bitnenfer, and it's for the Game Boy. And it has a dog, which everyone at the Twitch livestream went crazy, posting a lot of emojis of dogs when this came out.
I'm a cat guy, so.
So fuck that shit.
But I don't care much about it. No, but it's super cool. Especially if you have codes for the Game Boy before. It's a solid one, right?
Yeah. Short, but sweet.
Better, like, I tend to prefer short production that don't, take too much time on your audience, because that's what we have more precious time in a way, as human beings. So I like short productions.
I think the chat agrees that cats are vastly superior to dogs.
Of course, like internet already decided it.
That's why the internet is for cats and not for dogs.
It's not for dogs, like that. I agree that maybe dogs are way more clever than cats, but I don't care about clever. For me, I don't. The stupid cat is fine.
Okay, let's move on to the number one winner of the old school demo compo, which was this thing made for the BBC Micro.
Oh.
First I'm seen outside of the UK, apparently. At the demo party, I mean. And they decided to do Stnik remake, which is kind of hard to pull off on the BBC Micro. So well done. Everyone went crazy about Desert Dream. They at the original Stnik, they also ripped the music from Desert Dream, so that's why Desert Dream keeps getting played. I think there were like 4 entries overall on Revision 2020 that featured some reference to Desert Dream.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. 2020, and still everyone going crazy about Desert Dream.
It was a good demo, Desert Dream. So
yeah. Well, Amiga forever.
And here we are asking, like, is this a least powerful machine that was used to make that? It was a strong debate on Discord to know if it's actually the smallest machine to have done this the rendering of this scene.
I'm not sure.
For some of the old school platforms, it's even for the viewer. Even if you're like in the hall and you have like somebody sitting to you who's more knowledgeable in like old school platforms, it's always difficult to like figure out what's really going on and how difficult this is and how fast the machine is and how much or how much not RAM it has and stuff like that. So yeah. But a sign of a good production is that it also works if you don't know these things. And this one definitely does the trick.
It's always a cool scene. Always a cool scene to see.
Other compos that we had, that was the only stuff we had on Saturday. But on Sunday, we had more compos. We had the executable music, which didn't have that many entries, which was curious. I was expecting a lot more.
Yeah, but sizes were like interesting in executable music. I think there was one that was 3 kilobyte, where you couldn't really hear that it was 3 kilobytes, and then there was one that was 2.7 kilobyte, which you kind of could hear that it was 2.7 in the beginning, but then it started like having some dubstep wobbles, and it went kind of cool. But yeah, the below size ones really got to me.
If you think about it, when you see what Nobi is doing with I think it's Oidos.
Oidos, yeah.
And sometimes Klingster. So when you see what they do in 4K, for me, in a way, like it's depending on the tool that you choose, it can be tons of room. So it's more like now being creative, and because the synths are there. So if you take Forklang and all, they are sounding fantastic. There are tons of things that you can do. Like it's not limiting tools in a way. If you only have to feed the music, for me, it's really an artistic discipline now, less than a technical discipline, unless you code your own synths, like Garga is doing most of the time. That's a different fun.
I just find it very interesting that there are more tracked music entries than executable music entries in 2020, which is like doesn't really compute because the demo scene doesn't really need tracked music anymore. It needs executable music for the intros and it needs MP3s, so streamed music for the demos. There is no like niche for tracked music anymore, and yet a lot of people still prefer doing tracked music to executable music.
There's still tons of platforms where playing a mod can be convenient or having a tracker can be convenient. So there are still musicians doing trackers because there are also still demos that are using trackers in a form or another. You have to think that even on a PC early, it was like you could have a soft synth. If you take I think the TBL were done like that. It was still a tracker, but it was generated samples. So the soft synth was just generating samples, and the samples were played as a tracker. I think the platform is not dead. Like it's when I say the platform here, I'm thinking about
tracked music.
Plus, remember that tools like Renoise are used tons. Like if you have to think about how many people in the streaming music or in the demo scene are using trackers to do music that are in streaming nowadays, we would be I wouldn't be surprised. I know exactly. I can guess a number. But it is surprising for an outside person not knowing the scene how many of us actually use trackers. I say us, but as sceners, I use more DAWs, but like other forms of DAWs because Renoise is a DAW.
You use Ableton. I thought you used Ableton more.
I use tons of Ableton because I am severely addicted to Max since a lot of time, since like 2002 or something.
So in Ableton you can include Max
there is
patches there.
And basically I have tons of my tools that are in Max for Live. I have samplers, I have tons of. So I cannot get rid of it in a way, and I love my situation because I'm not.
And it's good for live jamming as well. I mean, Ableton is very versatile for doing live sets and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's for the polish that it's bothersome. Like when you want to automate the final track and go to the little details, not the best platform to do that. But when I care, I just bounce audio, go back to Reaper or something like that, and do my fine tune only on audio.
Okay. Streaming music compo, we had Romeo Knight winning with Too Many Datas Come Too Fast Inside. Saga Music's got second place, third place for Little Bitchard. I remember hearing the compo, but I was with the kid feeding him, so I have no idea who was who. We had a lot of quality entries, I remember that much.
Like the third one, Little Bitchard, it was electro, and it was fantastic. So this one won my heart instantly because it really sounds legit, you know. Like, but LB is always sounding legit, but it sounds like a real track that I could buy, basically. Maybe
buy the vinyl of that.
And I think he used only one single synth, also a Roland one, MTD one, or something like that, to do the full music. So it was also an exercise in limitation that is very interesting. Of course, Saga Music was also very cool. Like the winner, like Romana, was super cool. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it struck me that this had.
You're an electro person. You like electronic music.
I like, of course, like Little Bitchard is speaking alkama currently and fluently. Like he talks to me very vividly each time. So.
The other couples we had modern graphics. There were quite a few good entries on the top. Coffee Break by Oni won that compo. Prediction by Unreal of Rebels and Focus Design got second place, and Gaia by Made got third place. I think it was all right. I think I liked Oni's entry better, so I can. But it was a close call between the top four, though. So interesting. Good that people remember to vote. I think a lot of people, more people must have voted on this revision than on the other revisions because they were at home. They didn't have to go outside to bonfire and get drunk, so they probably ended up voting a lot more. Would like to check with the official.
Yeah, the alternative would have been they would have to talk to their family, so they voted.
I rather vote than talk to my family. Another competition, the fast music compo. This was a very cool compo, actually. I was not expecting much from it, but then I saw the theme, and it gave me flashbacks from that Evoke, where there was something very similar, which you participated in, Alkama, so you should remember.
So tons of people ask me that, like, oh, this is exactly like Evoke. No, Evoke is some kind of compo in the compo. So it's not a fast compo. It's just like some people heard of the theme and do something fun because we have this internal theme. So we had a 70s porn, we had a 80s original soundtrack that was exactly the same theme than the fast music this year. Except in our case, it's not fast. Huh? We just, like 1 year.
You have months to prepare.
You have 1 year to prepare, so you can come up with the best music ever. My surprise that usually the fast music is almost unbearable, especially when there are some added. Whenever they say use one sample or what use, those ones are unbearable. So most of the time, I am a musician, but I go out. Like, that's where I go out and take a cocktail or speak with people. I don't want to.
So, did you? So you didn't hear this compo, or
yes,
did you?
Yes, I did, and that's the fun.
A lot of the entries were good. I really liked, and the fact that it were just 90 seconds.
Yeah. And
makes it like very bearable. Like even if the track is shit, it's just 90 seconds. It's going away in 1 minute.
I don't know how much they pre-selected, but even the first one they played was good. Like if you take them all the lists, they are all listenable. So they are all legit music in a way. And it was like so funny to see all the saxophones. Like
it was really hard to compare, though. It's really hard to judge. Anyways, the results we had was first place Super Mutant Playground Heroes by RBR, and then second place Exaco, the Revision Fest music compo. Gino is so original with his titles. Like, I'm gonna make a Revision Fest music compo. What should I call it? I'm gonna call it Revision Fest music compo. They got second place at the Revision Fest music compo. And he was saying that it was like an improv track that you just made it in like half an hour with just the piano, and but it got the votes. He's a bit afraid that he got name voted because people liked his performance during the breakfast stream. And did you guys catch that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Alkama, abductee?
no,
So during Saturdays at 11 o'clock, when DFox and Dojo gives you like the breakfast opening of the day, they got Gino invited live stream, and he gave a concert of 3-4 tracks. One of them was the popular demo, of course. Gizmo was on the chat and saying that he was crying because it was very beautiful. Gino was playing on the piano or the guitar, I don't remember anymore, and he got his little kid to do the chords during and everyone was like watching the kid doing the right notes in the right place, and everyone was like, "Oh, so adorable!"
That's so cool. Like they play very well. But he's so talented in a way, and like we knew from I am a total fan of Sodad. This one is always giving me chills. Like I will remember, even if it's an invitation for me, it's really tied to Evoke. And I remember when this track played, I remember I was instantly completely captured by this track. Like, if you haven't listened to Sodad, Inertia,
yeah, I should definitely
check it. It's the lyrics, like I have everything. I know it by heart.
I have the lyrics here from the concert that he gave at Inertia. He forgot it, and there was one of the leftover things that I have to give him back, and he hasn't come to my place yet. So I have the lyrics right here, just outside of reach.
It's a hymn because it tells like it's not just about Portugal. It's really about the demoscene itself. Like you can
That was I was the one who actually came up with the theme, and I gave him a few pointers of what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be like remembering Inertia 2005 yet again and having that spirit, and then going from there and talking about stuff. So he wrote the lyrics himself, but I helped him figure out what. So I was co-author of the lyrics in some weird way.
Congrats.
But he's a great musician. I don't think he realizes how good he is, because for him he's playing and he only hears the mistakes that he does. And for us it's like, how the fucking hell is he improvising that by ear? That's impossible.
I think the Sunday mornings they ask like, can you play Variform? And they,
Yeah, and he just played. Whenever someone said Variform, I didn't even remember the music in my head. I only remembered the word saying, "You are now watching Variform." What's the music after that? I have no idea. And he remembered that he played it in a piano with chords. He just knows where the frequencies go. I don't know. He's crazy.
All right, guys. I probably have to leave within the next 2 minutes. So I just want to put one thing in about like and I'm jumping ahead here, but demo combo, the MFX plus hold on, luminescence. Very good, but we found out on stream, so we're not happy. We're happy with everything, but the speed. So I think that when you play it on like plus 20, plus 25%, it becomes better, and it does. And you can check that on YouTube. But Wayfinder thinks that when you play it like a bit slower, it's good. And I can't be right. So I tried it, and he's also right. So I think what our problem is, it's somewhere in this middle part where the speed doesn't seem to be right. But if you make it a bit slower or a bit faster, it starts to work and it becomes really, really good. So unfortunately, these are my final thoughts, and I have to jump into the next thing. So
okay, bye, abductees. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, abductee.
Okay, so what were we talking about? Modern. We had the fast music, and what are the next compos we have to cover? Where are we? Fast music, 4K executable graphics. This was also pretty darn good.
This was fantastic. Like this one was I think my favorite compo. Like so many cool ideas. Like if you remember, like
I don't know what I can show from this. Do I have the entries somewhere already? I guess I have them at.
So if you take Nusan, he had like the the painterly. You can go to Poet because
I can show them on Poet, I guess. So the winner, well, I guess we go Waterfall first. I love the style on Waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. This one is fantastic because like tons of painterly algorithm, like the I don't know. I did a stream where he explained how he tries to have silhouette kind of stuff, and not just silhouette, but actually also. I think he used a normal to do the closer object to have a real. But here, this is crazy. If you look at all the details, so we cannot have tons of details on Poet for this illustration. But go check this one. It's really awesome. Another one that was crazy.
I'm asking if someone wants to join us on the chat here because we're only two. We have space for 2 more people. So if you want to join in and just talk what you thought about revision. Yeah, just ping me on Discord and I'll give you the link for the page where we're talking about random stuff. The next entry that we have is The Real Party is in Your Pocket by Fizzer. And this was also mind-blowing. I especially like the details because making a Game Boy, okay, fine. Making a Game Boy realistic, that's awesome. He had the revision logo. He had that, like, instead of Game Boy, it says Demo Boy. The color had, like, a slightly different font to it, which must have been a fucking nightmare to do.
I thought it was the slide. So when they present this one, I thought, oh, they had a problem with the stream and they came back to the slide and they have something to sell from Nintendo. It's impossible. How do you do that? Like... everything is perfect. Look at those shadows, like everything.
Old School J was saying that if I have this on Demozoo, I could show it, but there's no link out for the Demozoo version here. Let's see. Can I go to Demozoo real quick?
You can go to Demozoo. Oh, yes. Good idea to go to Demozoo.
Because it shows bigger version, revision 2020. Can I do this? Will it find it? It says welcome home. Can I from here go to the other one? Let's see. I think so. 4K executable. Okay, and the winner was the master of disaster, the master of procedural graphics. I mean, when this category started happening, IQ just completely destroyed it. Like, he won every single thing, and it was like stuff that you would not believe it's possible. He would just completely blow it out of the park. So it was great to see IQ active and again at the demo party, even if remote entry, whatever. Everyone did remote entry this revision, and it was really cool to see it, and it looked really cool. So
it's just tasteful. It's just tasteful and ton of work. Because
yeah,
in
composition.
A way, just like Ferris, he gives all his tips, so it's not like he's hiding stuff. And if you look at his shaders also on Shader Toys, it's not like a mystery. It's not like completely crazy tips. It's insanely like he is in the details. Like if you look at his stream, like lengthy stream, he did one about rotating stuff that is very basic in a way. But if you go to the end of the stream and realize that he thinks about how to place the lighting, and he really have attention to detail like a director or like a photography, like a real camera guy. So he knows exactly where he wants to put his lights, how it wants to look, and he does tons of iteration. Where if you are like me or if you are tasteless,
I like the details on the braids, and like it looks like a real city on the background. It's just
like the subtle scattering is subtle. Nothing is really too much. And look, not even past traced. So simple remarching and only simple stuff. Like nothing here is impossible. Everything here is.
Okay, let's see if we can get inverse phrase in. He was saying, if you want an American's perspective, sure, why not? We don't have truck right now, so I guess this will have to do.
Who is joining us?
Inverse phase is an active scener on the New York scene. Ah, what's the name? Synchrony, I think. Synchrony.
Yeah,
it's the name of the party. Let's see if he joins us or not. We were talking about executable graphics.
Yeah. Remember also the Luna one with the face. Like tons of people miss the face. So can you show this one? Because
Luna had a face? I thought it was.
Yeah, you see, that's why I said, because they zoomed in a different part of the picture. So if you can just show this one so that people can at least in this.
I remember Nobi's was also really good.
Nobi was, but look for the way.
I remember Luna's animation GIF. I'm not remembering her executable.
It's basically shaped with
primitive for. Oh yeah, it does shape of a face. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because they did a zoom on the geometry, so you couldn't realize and understand that actually the whole geometry is making.
I feel so stupid right now.
No, it's not being stupid. It's just like that's a trick. But
I was looking at it and was like, "That's it. It's just some. Okay, the lighting is good. I didn't see the fucking face. I'm sorry, Luna. I downvoted you comparing to the other ones because I didn't see the face."
I think a lot of people did that. So that's very, very, very sad in a way. So that's why it doesn't care. We don't care about the results. Like, but what I mean is that it's important that at least we, if we found something fun.
And this one was also really good. Like the amount of complexity on this, and I love the detail of the person.
Again, look at the lighting. Just look at the lighting and different. Like, there are like how many lights? It's not just like one or two. Or like, it's perfect. Well, I shouldn't say perfect because I guess there are always things to make better. And but look at the details. Like, we cannot zoom, but like the tiny people.
Nothing is ever perfect. No, they can always be better.
So it's fun.
I think we skipped one. I guess since we're showing everything from the top. The other one was the Mercury thing. This one was pretty good as well. Like ultra realistic.
Yes.
Really jaw-dropping.
So we had fun when we looked at that. Is where does the light behind the balloon comes from? Like, if you think about it, what is lighting the balloon from behind like that? So it's and again you see that's Mercury at their best, like trying to. They don't care if they fake as long as it's perfect for the scenery and putting it in.
Hello, inversephase. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
How did you enjoy revision from the other side of the pond?
It was so. This was my first. Was going to be my first revision that I could physically attend.
Or you were actually had a plane ticket and stuff?
Plane tickets were ready, room was booked, everything was ready to go, and then pretty much like the that plane in Sofa Party, that was mine. But I've been streaming revision for many years. I always love watching.
You've been a faithful sofa scener.
I've been a sofa scener since 1991, 1990, something like that. I lived in Nowheresville, Idaho, for the longest time, so there was no way to escape. And I didn't take the life path that Ferris took. He's also from Idaho. I don't know if anyone knows or cares.
I knew he was from the U.S. I didn't know where exactly.
Yeah, I had some conversations about Idaho with him, which was very funny. But anyway, so yeah, like in 2016, I got invited to perform at Demo Splash. So I've been going to U.S. parties for 4 years or so.
That's pretty good. The U.S. demo scene has been more active than ever, so it's really cool.
Thank you.
Like there was this huge peak in the 90s of a lot of people in the tracker scene and stuff like that. It just kind of poofed.
Well, and like Renaissance, and I mean, there were a bunch of active U.S. groups, and then we all just kind of vanished for a little while. We got busy with real life, and the U.S. is really big, so it's like really hard to
fly around and stuff.
And whatever. I mean, like even Demo Splash. So Demo Splash is probably the best example of, it's a 5-hour drive for me, and I'm on the same side of the country. So like that's probably the same as someone, I don't know, from Poland that has to drive to Germany or something like that for revision.
Yeah. Unless it's really big, you're not really going to bother.
Right. So like NV Scene is a great example of like, that was a very successful US party, the years that it ran.
It's relatively successful. I think it was successful for what it was, but in terms of people attending, it wasn't. There were a lot of foreigners, which I don't think is what you want. Did it really spark a lot of activity in the US? I guess if Garguy was here, he would totally kill me and tell me that it was the best thing ever, but I'm not completely convinced. I mean, I'm sure it helped. I'm sure it was...
I don't think it was the best, but I do think that the West Coast deserves a demo party because the 3.5 parties, if you want to call it that. There's MagFest, that's in DC. There's Demo Splash, that's in Pittsburgh. There's At Party, that's in Boston. And then there's Synchrony, and Synchrony starts in New York and ends in Montreal.
Train.
It's on a train. So like there's 3.5 US parties, and they all are like in this little microcosm of the East and Mid-Atlantic and whatever. And there's like nothing for West Coast sceners. And so I think Garguy is absolutely right that this is a good area that needs support. And, like I had some conversation.
I think the main issue with the US scene is that if there isn't money involved, people don't really move themselves to organize
not
stuff.
True. I don't think
that's the feeling I get.
Here's an interesting perspective, maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, okay? I have a background. Do you know MagFest?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I ran it for 2
I didn't realize how big it was, but I knew what it was. I thought it was like a small convention.
People.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, that's bigger than any warehouse I've seen in Portugal. So
yeah, it's huge. I mean, I stepped back from organizing when it became 3,000 people. But like, I mean, I grew it from 200 people, so that's not bad, I guess. The point is that MagFest has nothing to do with sponsorship. They will not accept money from sponsors unless the sponsors are people that don't want their name plastered all over the place. Like but
then the attenders pay the costs for the stuff happening.
True, but MagFest is it's a 2-digit number to attend in terms of price. Like it's when I was in charge, you could still get in for $40. Like it's nothing.
How many days was it?
4.
Yeah, $40 for 4 days is not that bad.
It's cheap. No, it's not.
It's pretty solid. So
Right?
so because of that, I tried to, like, and succeeded with, we had help from, I don't know if you saw that we were trying to run a demo party at MagFest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, MagFest isn't a demo party, but there is
They had
now
like a
room
hall
at
dedicated to
MagFest.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a banner for that. Thanks to Kobe that asked for a banner. So
Yeah. So, like, but Faye, Argasek, Mock, who else? Boris, Mowgli. We had Ace Man this year. Like I feel like I wanted to go back to what you said about Europeans being at a demo party or whatever at a US party. Yes,
the Polish came to help you.
Well, yeah, and they did a great job. But we do want more Europe at American parties because in a way it helps the American parties feel legit. Like Americans have been watching European demos for 30 years and only, 1 or 2 random American demos mixed in with those demos, right, per year or something like that. And so like for an American party to feel legit, they want remote submissions or remote, attendees from Europe or whatever, because they want the community. They want to finally meet the people that wrote those demos. They want to, demo people are celebrities. And then what you said about money, I don't think the Americans care about money. I mean, they might a little bit, but maybe a European scener would be in it for the cash. I don't know. I can't speak for them.
Well, there were some reports on the 90s of some organizers who left with the projector just to get the money, and then no one heard from them again. So it has happened, but nowadays for the last 20 decades, speaking that you're making money out of anything demoscene related is very frowned upon. I was very surprised on how well the Patreon got accepted by demoscene people, because I was very afraid of creating a Patreon for stuff that I'm doing, because most of it is demoscene related. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a Patreon to support myself doing the stuff I love. Most of it is demoscene related, which everyone takes for granted that it's free work. So I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. And I didn't get that much. I got ignored by the people who didn't really like that part, I guess. And I got a lot of good support from people who understand that there's like a limit to what you can do with and without financial support. So you can do a lot on goodwill alone and interest on what you do, but then if you have some extra motivation, you can do the extra length and do some stuff that actually brings more value to the entire community. And I think that's fine. That's what I tried to do it. Anyway, we should probably go back to talking about revision. We were talking about
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's welcome.
Interesting topic,
I think everyone on the chat enjoys as well knowing about a little bit more about the American scene and how it works. So I think it's fine. Revision, we were talking about the old school graphics in particular. We had a few interesting releases. Killing old school was particularly interesting for the CPC. I like that the dino thingy that happened.
The colors are always very flashy and very cool on CPC. I think it's fun that the graphics on the CPC are always very, very vibrant. I don't know why, but it's very cool.
Just how they do it. Then Ghost Rider of Hellman got 4th place. This was alright. I didn't particularly liked it. I know it feels like it got a lot of work on it, but I kind of didn't like the colors, the composition on it. But I guess it's okay. I guess I can live with it.
Did you not like the colors because you prefer monochromatic demos, or
I don't know. It just didn't feel right. A Glimpse of Freedom looked a lot better. This looked very
yes. That was very good.
By Yok of Dreamweb. This one was really good. And A Mighty Hunter Origin. This one was also spectacular. By Facet. It's really good to see Facet active again.
In a way, we say that, but it's the same era as Made and all, and Made is still there and never left. So
yeah, but
somehow we got used to all the people that stayed, and we celebrate people that come back. But we have to celebrate people that are here since and never left, basically.
Yeah, and Made got 1st place with Dorian. which was also pretty awesome. Really like this.
So happy. And look at the details, because there are tons of hidden details in all of those pics.
Yeah,
so it's really cool to open them and really look at the pixels, because there are hidden details everywhere.
You always learn a little more tricks of anti-aliasing.
And on those download and use the zero color, the deluxe paint effect, where you just hold the mouse, because they hide tons of things in the dark, like the black is not so black.
With the shadows.
So, do that on all the pictures that you see in old school, always, in every competition. Graphicians are always funny.
Find some hidden messages,
yes,
stuff like that.
You will always find interesting messages like that.
I remember sometimes you used to zoom in or change palettes, and there were like secret messages hidden there.
That's it, huh? Like the zero color, like usually the clear color or something like that is
wild compo. Let's see, what did we have on the wild compo? We had a lot of stuff. The winner, of course, was Sulfur World by Pooh Brain. I think it was impossible for it not to win.
It was.
I'm not sure if the compo category was the best one. Maybe it should have been as a game.
Yes, for me.
I mean, it's not really a wild entry, but whatever. In second place was Hardware Malfunction, which I'm not really remembering. And in third place was Amiga Atari, which was the disc for the Amiga that played the sounds of the Atari.
Oh, yes.
Which was pretty cool technical achievement, and also having a lot of stuff. I'm going to check out what Hardware Malfunction is, because I'm drawing a blank at what it is right now. And it might be interesting.
It was the LCD demo.
Yes, it was for the Arduino.
It's an AVR. So I mean, yeah, I guess an Arduino.
I'm gonna play it so we can see it. And you inversephase probably don't know what I'm talking about when I say I'm gonna play it. You need to go to this page that I'm posting.
Oh, I see. I just figured you were.
Oh yeah, I remember this one.
And I probably should show guys here as well. There we go. I don't really know the technical achievement on in terms of hardware, but people on the chat were saying that this is impossible. You cannot smooth scroll an image this big on an Arduino. And I'm like, okay, I have to believe you, because I have no clue. I never tried to do any graphics on an Arduino.
I have an interesting perspective, which is that I don't know if you know who CN Lohr is, Charles Lohr.
I don't.
He has done a lot of ESP8266 programming, but before then he did a whole lot of AVR programming. In fact, I don't know if you saw the synthesizer I'm building. He developed some of the microcode for it. But he has done some incredible stuff, including, I believe, a Doom port to AVR. So
Doom is important to run on anything.
Everything needs to run Doom. But I guess my point is just that like if he can do some of that, and I mean you've seen LFT's AVR demo, so like I don't think it's impossible. I thought it was very impressive. I liked it a lot. And some of the effects are surprising.
This effect, people went crazy when this effect happened, so I assume it's very impressive.
Yeah. But yeah.
It's the problem with the wild compo. It's very hard for you to judge and compare, especially compare between different platforms, because you don't really know the full capabilities of each one. It's a very technical competition at the end of the day. Can make voting really hard.
The goodness, like if it touches you or not, because at the same time, nothing forces them to do that with it. So if you like that, that's perfect. And if for you prefer different kind of visuals or different kind of stuff, because they are not like. At least when you look at what LFT did on C64, for example, you know that old school or any wild platform is not any excuse to do anything. So I think, for me, I think this is very nice, visually very nice and all. So I like it, and it has graphics, it has everything I like about a demo in a way. So I'm fine with it. But what I mean is that you shouldn't only judge on technicalities. just also vote with your heart and say, okay,
Vote with your
do I
heart.
like it or not?
Yeah, why not? Animated GIF is the next category. We might have a wild pixtur joining. Yes.
Oh, cool.
We do. There we go. Yeah, pixtur. Hello, pixtur. How you doing?
Oh my goodness, my hero.
We are talking about the revision stuff. We are about to talk about the animated GIF compo in particular, and then we're gonna go through all the other compos until we reach your demo, when you're gonna tell us all about how awesome it was, and how stressed you were in finishing it in such short time. But animated GIF first. Let's see if I can find. I guess Demozoo is the best place to search that. While I search Pixtur, do you want to tell us anything about how was your revision 2020? Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was interesting experience. So, well, I spent most of the time coding in trying to finish the production, and it's stressing out about the live set, which wasn't really live, but so I don't know if you have seen the wake set, but
where the video was, what part of it was pre-recorded? Was it just the music or everything?
no, actually, I mean, so we played similar sets with the setup before. So we played at Deadline twice, I think, and also
at Evo.
Nordlicht and at Evoke.
Didn't you? I think I saw you playing at Evo. I know I might be confusing. I might have seen it by live stream of you playing it somewhere else, probably
Yes.
Deadline, as you mentioned, or
Haven't you
not.
played at demo bits or something? No?
I think but I only played. I made the visuals for Ronnie, I think.
Oh yeah, that one I watched. That's for sure.
Yeah, but yeah. So actually, so normally we play this live, and so it's like, so okay. Sometimes there is like if the setup is too complicated, then there is like some kind of backing track or something. But most of the music has like live components, and the keys are played live normally and so on. And so I don't know, I spent like a lot of time writing live visuals and MIDI setups and hooking it all together, so normally we can play it live and it will be very nicely synced. But this time we did a couple of takes with like the camera, and I was live mixing like the visual stuff, and then I had like fun like editing my Japan footage. So, yeah,
They also look pretty good. Anyways, let's talk about animated GIF or GIF or whatever you want to call it. Fourth place we had Clutch by Garguy, which was pretty nice, just to reuse some old stuff, which looked pretty sweet and done. So it was a pretty nice animated GIF. In the third place we had, if Demozoo will allow me to show it, Winding Alley by Louisa, which was also pretty darn good. I think it's a little sped up here. I'm playing this on Demozoo, so you guys, inversephase and pixtur, probably can't see it, but I'm showing stuff on Demozoo. And then we had, if Demozoo will load, Exadedral Recurrence, and this one I really liked by YX.
Yes. It was crazy.
Well, I don't know why it doesn't animate on Chrome or on Firefox, but well, shame.
That's sad. Like the fun is that in this competition you have a size limit that is a bit bothering. You have a resolution limit and a size limit, so you have to be there.
Yeah,
the resolution
and then
is actually fixed, so it's.
Yeah, and then Bloom by TD Hopper, which also doesn't animate on Demozoo. That's a shame. But this one looks really, really good. I really think this was a worthy winner. Like the skull blooming out of the thing with a crack, that was like really dope stuff. So I think these were all pretty good winners. The paint over compo was also pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Oni was the clear winner there. I think the other ones were okay. Some were good. I think the showing was a bit wrong. Some people misread that the step 4 should be the final version, and I think that's why there were a few that seemed unfinished. And Elman was pretty much the only one who complained about it. And his got reshown, but I think at least 2 or 3 others seemed unfinished, like blocks with just solid colors and stuff like that, which were really weird to witness. But overall, I think the paint over compo was pretty decent quality, and Oni's entry was really good. Let's see if I can show Oni's entry here, if I can find it.
So fast.
Paint over
By the way,
paint over.
before we get too far away, I thought Black Goal's submission for animated GIF was pretty great.
Let's see if I can find that.
It's the tree. What was it called? Spring Tree. 7th place.
Spring Tree. Oh yeah,
I just really liked it.
yeah. It doesn't animate here on Demo Zoo, but I remember it. It was pretty decent, yeah.
Lacon is streaming a lot also, so follow, because I think she won 4K 4K graphics, 4K executable graphics like last year or something like that. It was with the tiny paper boat on the sea. It was a fantastic picture. So
yeah.
Moving on to the game compo, I think pretty much the only decent game we had was Hospital Hero by Heckelfu, and this one was pretty good. I'm gonna play the YouTube
should have been
video.
so facile, no?
Yes, we have it. And it was very on point. I mean, Corona themed and all that. So
yes, it was cool. It was with the tiny hospital, no?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put this full screen.
So well
you guys
done.
can see.
So well done.
I actually want to try to play it to see if it's only one level or if it has more stuff than that.
Ah.
But it was pretty well done. What other stuff do we have on the compos? We have the old school 4K intro. Let's see what we had there. I think we had pretty good entries as well.
Old school 4K isn't there were school. Yeah.
I thought the 4K submissions were really the king of the compos this year.
Both on
above
points.
average.
Yeah, I had Demo as third place, Mort Subita a second, and Square Roots by Vanity.
Yeah,
first
Square
place.
Roots. That's the one I put in the playlist. It was awesome, so cool. Like the color when it's unfolding and all. It's
I'm gonna skip to that because we already seen the game before.
as a game
So
it's cool.
I think last year we also already had Vanity winning the 4K. No, yesterday last year was Sersoft that won, but the year before was Vanity CPC. I know they've been doing stuff for Revision a lot. Let me check their results real quick. See what else they won. So yeah, they got third place at Revision 2019. They got second place at no, this was Reset. Fourth place at Revision 2018 with their demo, but their 4K. Yeah, so yeah, they won the 4K intro compo at Revision 2018, so 2 years ago. So they are recurring winners now.
And we see why, huh? It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see CPC stuff. Like, I was not very familiar with the CPC at all until they started releasing stuff for Revision every single year, and I just was forced to see it and try to understand what was amazing about that. And I'm a big fan of the CPC nowadays.
I love it because it was a very big machine in France. Like one of my childhood machine, like my neighbor had a CPC, tons of people in south of France had a CPC, way more than a C64. So it was always strange to me, why is there not a scene on this platform? So I'm always very happy because for me that's nostalgia basically. When I remember what was on the actual CPC, this is way better than what I had in my childhood. So
I don't remember my CPC doing this.
no, not at all. Like you could have Barbarian and stuff like that, but not very cute. And again, the colors. Look at the color on the CPC. This is very clearly different.
So next we have the 8K compo. I wanted to pause this if I can, which of course I can't because Watch Together enjoys bugging. The 8K was a bit of a disappointment. We had a lot of fillers. I don't think any of them are uploaded on Puet yet, or at least I'm not finding them. The console thing was alright, and then we had 2 filler entries by Altacrasa, if I remember correctly. Let me check the results real quick. And I was quite disappointed. I was thinking, okay, we're gonna have at least one decent entry for the 8K. It has to pick up sometime. It's like the 4th year that's running, maybe the 3rd. But it was really not that many entries. And I know we talked about this already on the live stream a little bit. If it makes sense.
I think we'll have more, like at normal revision, some people, like me or friends, fail to meet the size limit of 4K and fall back to 8K and suddenly make a better music or something like that. So I think problem is that when you're online or when you're planning for that, people are not like hardcore deadlining, except pixtur maybe. But a lot of people are not it's not the same stress as in the party where people are always challenging you to drink a beer or be social and stuff like that. So
yeah,
you have less relicates, or you keep it and say, okay, I have time and I can submit it to the next big party or something like that. So it's less of I'm in a hurry, I still want to release because okay. And again, as I said, with the new API, I'm very sure that people will come and say, okay, 4K is not enough for Vulkan DirectX, or it will take too much size to do Vulkan or DirectX 12. With the 8K, you will have tons of space to do that. You have better music, and you will be able to maybe leverage the hardware even more.
It's like abductee said that we what was his exact quote? We're missing like an FR08 the product to kick ass on the 8K for people to really start taking it seriously to its full potential. People are still focusing on the 4K.
Look at the Priest being like the first pass tracing, or at least the first that marked at revision with the sphere and all. Absolute territory, I think. So if for me, this was a way bigger, like a second landmark on the 4K, because suddenly people start saying, okay, I can do pass tracing on this platform too, and I can make very cool and very distinct stuff with strange music and not just do melodic stuff and stuff like that. So
yeah.
It's not just a one landmark. Like it's cool, like RGBA and elevated. It's very cool, but there are not just one landmark for on the scene. There are tons of different tiny steps where people unlock and go further. I think still like we have pixtur here. We are very lucky, but frankly, the demo that still is doing is, for me, those are landmarks also, because they are, suddenly we say, okay, we don't really need to be just old school demo scene or just to be only technical. We can just go ultra visual. You did my dream demo with the black and white starting. I always forget the name of this one with Hoffman at the music. This is like my, so there is not one landmark. So okay.
Multiple landmarks.
Yeah, if you take Square, like this was a landmark also. So.
Pixtur, I have to ask you, since you're here, did you ever consider doing any stuff that's size limited? Does Tool allow to like do size limited stuff?
Well, I mean, I did a bunch of 64Ks, and I have to say, for me it was a little bit like been there, done that. So like the first tool we had, like it was like optimized for 64K, so it was like so much inspired by Werkzeug that we basically cloned like the whole concept, and it was really so the problem with that is that I think like your whole workflow is like optimized for generating like size coding content. Like really, like your whole pipeline is like size coding content.
Yeah, you need to do everything procedurally and stuff like that.
Well, the procedural thing, I love doing stuff procedurally, but like, for instance, like, or maybe nowadays you do differently, but back then we had like one thing that was like the editor, and then we had like something completely different that was like using the same things to build basically a demo or like a 64K that then crunched with like, I don't know, Crunchy or something, or UPX, or I can't remember what we were using back then. But like this whole setup was like it was like super difficult to build new operators. For instance, you had to write like a lot of code and a lot of like touch a lot of files. And then if you eventually figure out that maybe like the parameter for a certain operator was like has an incorrect name, then you had to go into like the code and change like tons of stuff. So you never actually tweaked your operators.
Yeah.
You know, like
you were always afraid of breaking
flow
stuff.
was like worse. And then so I really love procedural stuff and like a lot of demos, like for instance like an intrinsic gravity, intrinsic gravity.
I think it's
so like this could easily happen like a 64K. You know, there are no images in this. There's like super small shaders, and this could have easily fit in 64K. The only thing is, okay, you would need like a sound artist who does like a track for it, but then you would spend like half of the time optimizing size. And I don't care about size because everybody is watching this stuff on
YouTube anyways. But you do usually kill the encoder, so you still need to use the executable. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Talking about the Amiga demo compo, I was a bit disappointed, but considering the awesome demo compo that we had last year, I was bound to get disappointed. We ended up with one pretty cool demo, which was made by Offense. It was called what's it called? What's the name? Chillobits. It was okay. It had a lot of C64 influences. You can tell, like the way they do scene, transition, scene, transition, scene. Like that feels very 64K-ish, C64. But overall, I think it was pretty solid entry, and I think it was a worthy winner of the compo. What did you guys think?
For me, it's a cool homage. Like I have memories of. I think it was Scorpion of the group Silicon that used to do exactly the same kind of start, where you are not sure that the demo actually launched and still use the workbench and start to do effects with the workbench, which again, it's a nostalgia in a way. But I'm not a good judge of old school anymore. Again, I'm not very knowledgeable on like I lost most of my Amiga abilities. When I transferred to PC, which was a drama for me, but nowadays when I start, like I tried to come back to Amiga platform and it was extremely hard for me. I had tons of great memories playing with ASM1 and when I was a kid, and nowadays I realize that you
don't have patience for it anymore. Inversephase, what did you think about this demo and the Amiga compo in particular?
I think it was I think it was cool, but if I take it frankly, I always say that this effect was very cool with all the physics of all the bubbles. It was very cool. But in my memory, it was like the Amiga used to have better demos as a whole. And I know that it's a bit assholeish to say that, but normally you always expect things to progress in a way. And I think my favorite Amiga production are mostly in the past, except for exception, like as I said, if you take Aeon. Yeah, but the problem is that if you remove Aeon, for all the other Black Lotus, they are fantastic, but most of the time they target like 060, which again for me is not the Amiga of my childhood, it's more the Amiga of my late teenage, where I had the money to pay a card, etc., expensive board and stuff like that. So it's different.
Inversephase, what do you think?
I remember Andromeda.
So we're in a weird place here, you know, in the US. The war was Mac versus PC.
You didn't have any Amigas at all?
No, we had tons of Amigas, but like people just didn't care about the Amiga like they do in the demo scene. I cared about the Amiga a lot because I was watching demos and playing games and that sort of thing. And obviously I mean, I'm near DC, right? So the Amiga was developed, 3 hours away from here. Dave Haney still lives near Commodore and everything. But so I always I got the Amiga versus PC war, but I don't think a lot of Americans do, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I can absolutely see why the why it was split off, why there is a separate Amiga compo. But I think that maybe not a lot of others could. I enjoyed it. I can see why Offense won this one. That it's pretty plainly obvious. And,
I think there were a lot of filler demos as well here.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they don't consider it filler, but I did. They didn't feel like they brought anything new to the table.
So one thing that was interesting for me, since I'm a chip musician, is I liked seeing the difference between Amiga demos using, mods or some other replayer and people using Amiga Clang. That was interesting to me, and that is maybe the way people are trying to evolve, or will try to evolve, the Amiga scene eventually. Now, I don't know, is now the point where it tries to evolve. Not to not talk about the Amiga compo, but I think that maybe Amiga Clang should have maybe not ended up in streaming music, but maybe there should be some sort of more modern music compo. I feel like it doesn't necessarily belong in the old school music compo anymore, or period. Like or maybe maybe a contrasting opinion is that chip music should get broken off into its own thing, and that there should be this sort of middle ground between it's happening on an old school machine and it's it's actually chip music. Like PSG and FM could get broken off from a machine with sampled output.
I don't agree with that. It's still a platform, and I as a musician, I don't agree with that at all. I don't want a separate category for chip. For me, it makes absolutely no sense at all. But
well, in the US, the chip music is a lot bigger. The chip music.
No, but I mean, I don't care. Like, it's not like we are not underestimating when we are saying that we have an old school music competition. Old school is not to say that's for birdie people that we don't care about. Huh?
No,
so
we just call it old school to include. We just call it old school to distinguish between the PC and Amiga NC64 stuff, basically.
Not even that. Like, if you want to contribute a chip tune or whatever to the streaming, you'll not be disqualified by that as long as it's good. Like, the streaming is a format, so you have to submit an.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, Amiga Clang is more of an executable music.
Yeah.
But I feel like there should be a, then maybe the question is, should chiptunes that are not someone writing their own music driver, that someone writes an NSF and that they exported from Defilmask or Famitracker or something like that, should they end up in the tracked music category because they didn't write their own driver and they didn't write their own executable and they didn't write their own replayer?
We don't write our own tracker. When if I submit a mod or an XM, I don't have to code an XM player. So I just play with that. So basically, in the category, they say what I can submit as a file. So all you have to do is to convince the organizer to add this format as a standard file to this competition, and that's it. Huh? Like they already have IT, S3M, mod, XM, and stuff like that. For me, it's just like adding to the format list, but it's not about like making a new specific dedicated compo. Or if you are out of the in a different situation or in a different border, then submit to streaming. Like, it's exactly like I have a friend that makes tons of Nintendo 3DS productions. 3DS is not considered an old school production, which means he cannot contribute to the old school competition. He has to publish in wild. That's exactly what he does. I know that it's a strange situation because the old school has very strict terms in terms of number of bits for the platform and year that it starts, and the 3DS is not in the list, so he has to do that.
So I agree, and I see where you're coming from, okay? I probably made a misstep when I said streaming, okay? Forget I said streaming. I didn't. What I was trying to say is you talk about the evolution of the Amiga scene and how you prefer the old to the new and that sort of a thing, because there are new techniques. And so what I'm saying is, now that all of a sudden we have this new technique that is not at all similar to PSG, to FM, to trackers, that sort of a thing, should it maybe not be placed in its own category? Should we not be judging things based on, like their category of technique rather than the machine that they are on? Or alternatively, should we be more, as a scene, as a presenter, as an organizer, should we be more vehement, more passionate about providing the limitations that the submitter worked under to produce whatever, I mean, all of the Amiga Clang entries said, oh yeah, this is Amiga Clang, it's 9 kilobytes, and I think that's great. But like, what about the other people? Should we make it so that we're, if they have to enter in the same compo, like, should we be more straightforward about the kind of submission that it is?
That's a good question. It's more an organizer question.
I'm sorry, I'm being philosophical here. Maybe I should just...
No. It's good. It's good. But I think that's more a question of organizers. That's like, you have to just plan of how many contribution you will have. So if, of course, in the US you have more of a specific kind of music or a specific platform, focus on that. Like, you don't have to mimic any. We are not a school. It's not a school. Demoscene is not owned by anyone, including European people. So make it whatever you want and what fits for where you are. And that's all compos are born. 8K.
And it's also a lot more interesting. Like, for Europeans, we would love to see other people doing other formats.
Yes.
For us, would be a lot more interesting than people just importing the culture, and it's a lot more interesting for them, for other countries and I don't know, people with different cultural backgrounds that still want to have demo scene in their lives, so to say, to just, twist the concept a bit, do something slightly different with it. I think that's always positive. Always, if not for anything else, to make us in Europe think a bit more of what makes sense. Should we be doing the same compos as always? I'm not very, I don't know, maybe I'm too political about this. I don't really like compos that are always the same. I know that it has some value that you always repeat the same compos, so you have some competition and people want to be the recurring winners and stuff like that, but I don't know, I like to think outside the box. Like, I was very strong adept to not even having compos at all, to just go to a party and show stuff and people talk about that stuff, even talk about your entry, things like that we don't usually see on a regular demo party like Revision. And I prefer that a lot more, and I'm happily in the position that I can do that in Portugal, but unfortunately the Portuguese scene is so small that it doesn't really give that much impact to the rest of the demo scene. So in Portugal I do my own experiments, like not having jury voting, just having like a dictator saying who is gonna win, or not even having any competition at all, letting people speak to explain what's the concept behind the demo and that kind of stuff. But on other demo parties you can't really do that, and whenever you try to explain to them that concept and why you think that's important, you are always met with this wall of criticism that you're changing the culture, this is not what we want, it's not what we expect from demo scene, people would be confused. And I get their point. Yeah, I get their point. They want to keep that culture and keep it going.
Change it to your scene. What we want is more scener at any cost, basically, because it's very strange that there are not more people interested in such kind of way to express yourself. So no, change it if it fits where you are. Change it, and we cannot say that we are very look at the shader showdown. They
that's a completely new concept, and if Havoc hadn't been pushing it so much, we wouldn't be having it, and it's bringing a lot of fresh blood into the demo scene.
So do that for if the music is your way to grab new sceners, do that please, inversephase. Make this compo happen. If you have tons of people ready to contribute to such a compo, make it happen. What I'm saying is more like generally, in a way, what we see, at least in the European side, look at the 8K. We have a category and we don't always we are not always able to feel it. So it's more.
Yeah, it was they tried something and see if it works or not. It hasn't really taken off, but it might not. We'll have to see. And it's
remember
your
the
party. You can do
32K
whatever you want. You can try new stuff.
You remember the 32K games, PS?
The what?
It used to be a category in the Mecha Symposium, at the Mecha Symposium, where you had the 32 kilobits games.
Ah, yeah.
So it was like category pop and go. So it's not like a fixed. It's not like fixed things. It's more like do you have many prods that fits for something and assemble them and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, we are at the PC demo compo. This one that we're watching was the demo by TPOLM. TPOLM represent Feather and Croaker. Great job. Well done. Let's take a look at the results, where they placed. I think they placed rather low. Like, I should stop looking at the results file and just look at the Poet listing of productions. It's easier to look at that. This one was placed at 8th place.
Yeah.
It was made with Notch. Feather finally playing around with Notch. I really like. I had seen a preview of this. He improved it slightly. I really like the whole surrealist aspect of it. That was the.
Was only placed 8?
Yeah,
Yeah.
only placed 8.
Oh,
Placed 8. Yeah.
You only placed 7th, so.
Well, but I mean, like, it was not really a demo, but like the.
An experience.
I mean, you could really see that a lot of work went into that production.
Some people didn't like the camera works. As a designer who was very used to doing very interesting camera work, Pixtur, what did you think of the camera work on this one?
I mean, I'm kind of biased when it comes to Notch demos, so you know. So I personally like things when it takes me like on a journey, and I don't really know what's going on, but I have like something. Oh, okay, like the red stands for like I don't know love, and the white stands for I don't know like breakfast or whatever, and then you try to like interpret something. And like in most demos, I can't. Like if it's only like certain cubes rotating. Of course, you can tell a story with cubes, but like most demos don't. And the TPOLM stuff really took me on a journey. I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, and the only thing I didn't really like about the demo was like the swimming animation. So like I didn't.
It felt a bit janky, not really smooth.
Well, it was like on a weird spot between like being not abstract enough. But also like being not really like properly placed. And I was like, okay, like if they would have, for instance, like in the Vectrix thing, they had like this short sequence where the man is standing up and running, and this was like like proper motion capture, like even though like super short. And I thought like, if they would have like if the swimming part is like such a central piece of like this demo, if this would be like a more consistent movement, it would have like brought this to another level.
I think it was just an animation that Feather got, and he really doesn't have any way to get a better animation capture than that. So he just went with that and just tried to make it work with that.
Yeah. But I think for me it was like almost like my favorite from the compo, I have to say.
It was very distinguished from everything else. It really stood out in that regard, so I really liked it for that. And the surrealist aspect of it all, it makes you think, which is a lot more than you can say for a lot of demos out there. So I really like that. Alkama, do you want to say anything?
Oh, I always like, because when I see something like that, I'm always puzzled. That's exactly the same feeling I had with Alcyon kind of demo, where I think that I am probably more than 50% of the result. Like I worked to get what I want from the demo itself, and in a way I like that. I like when it's not too, like I always prefer when it's not too directive, and basically you as an audience has a value and make your own story. I have that with H+. Probably I have my own H+, let's say. I have my own chimera. And it's the same for those ones where I don't really understand immediately. And then suddenly I say, yeah, there must be another message. And if I dig long enough, I will come up with something that is probably not the truth, but will be cool. And that's a cool feeling, I think, to have that. And you don't have that with a lot of production. So I liked it.
Yep. Inversephase, do you have any particular memories of this particular demo?
I do. So I'm a diehard old school rave demo, Spaceballs attitude demo person. Those were some of my favorite old demos, but recently, recently as in the last 10 years, I've really come to like demos that remind me that people dream. I think that's the most succinct way I can put it. I like being inspired to dream. I like watching a demo that looks like it is someone's dream, and this was that for me.
Yeah, if you know Feather is a very dreamy person, like if you see the graphics that he does and that kind of stuff. So this demo really reflects his taste in that department. So yeah. Okay, cool stuff. Moving on, 7th place, we had Pixtur's demo, which unfortunately is not yet on YouTube. So we will...
No, it must be, because I capture everything. So it must be Revision has uploaded all the production to YouTube.
They didn't upload it yet.
It is in a channel called Revision Release, I think.
I can send you a link.
Yeah, let me find it.
They sent me a link.
If you have the YouTube, yeah.
I have it here.
Yeah, but there's, I don't know, not much to discuss.
Yeah, it is in the list.
It's so
you
short.
Want me to play it?
Yes, play it. And I should probably put it maximum. Yeah. So what can you tell us about this Pixtur?
I don't know. Well, we are like writing.
What was the concept behind it? Like, where did you first have the idea? Were you just playing around with abstract shapes?
Well, so in the new tool we don't have anything. So we don't even have like a depth buffer. No, we have it, but like so far yesterday we didn't. And so the only thing we have is basically you can blend images and like fragment shaders, instant keyframes, and I saw like Wayfinder playing around with kaleidoscopes, and I was really like into that and into like this Ryoji Kieda, I think.
Ryoji Kieda, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, like the key does this like subdividing like panels, and I basically combined like these two into like doing like this kind of like thing, and I was like struggling to find like any kind of like concept whatsoever, and then eventually like this whole Corona thing came. So I was like, okay, like maybe like we could have like, you know, like that people are infected and stuff. So like some kind of concept, but it's yeah. I'm just very, very happy that we actually released it, because it's more like for us internally as having like enough pressure to like move forward and actually push it out, you know, like as a proof of concept. So I'm not really, actually I just like the final part of like the wake set, like this was also like a demo, and I made this like on I think Friday night. So it's just like synthesizer stuff, like also kaleidoscope, and like this one much more. And I actually the only reason like I'm in the chat was like I wanted to ask you like how I can like move executables from the incoming scene FTP server to like the.
You actually have to ask Gargai. He was liking me hi on Discord, and I just assumed he wanted in. So like, okay, do you want in? And he goes, how? And here
That's
it
how you
is.
capture a Pokemon.
You actually
No,
have
no
to
need
ask
to-
Garguy there. I'm not active on scene.org anymore, so Garguy is the man to go for that,
Oh my
or
goodness.
Dipswitch if you're a Dipswitch contact, or Menace. I believe Menace has direct control of the FTP
Okay.
as well. So one of these three guys. So now you know. But I really like them. I think, I mean, clearly it was short, fast made, but I really like that it has like this tight aesthetic value that you usually deliver. So that was really cool. And a lot of people on the chat were saying that they really liked the vibe that the demo was giving, even though it was so short.
I mean, it's like
That's when you hear about a new tool, you're like, oh, they will come back. We'll have more production.
Yeah,
and
what's
like,
up with
oh
the
my
new tool?
goodness.
Why did you start the tool 3 instead of keep using tool 2? What was the limitations of tool 2?
I mean the so one thing is like we use like a certain UI framework for the second tool, which is like called WPF. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but it's horrible. And it's very hard to make like UI components for that. And this was actually my main thing. So I wanted to have something like if you have an operator and this operator could draw itself, then you could suddenly have like something, you could have like a node graph, and in this node graph you have like small little widgets that like have their own little node editor or something. You could have like a component, like a gradient slider or something. And this was my main motivation to have like a better workflow and more creative stuff. And I think like Cynic's main motivation was more like so he's really into coding and into like trying out DirectX 11 stuff, like low level, like plugging together like complex stuff. And he was like adding PBR stuff to the tool too, including like stuff like bouquet. And he said like, okay, like writing this bouquet stuff was like horrible because you have like, I think like 13 passes or something and 20 buffers. And like doing this like with like writing it in software is like super, like it's not made for that. And with the new thing, you can actually like, it's like you have like the complete DirectX API as nodes. So basically like the whole API of like code introspection. And then you can, you have like, I want a blend state buffer or like a render target description, and then you have like all the fields from the DirectX API, like including like all the enumerations and all the drop downs, all the properties, and then you can plug everything with everything without writing code. But you can also write code, so it's basically the same thing.
Okay,
So
you just realized that you needed something different and had to start almost from scratch.
Yeah,
That's the problem with developing tools.
This time it went quickly, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's like.
Is it out of beta already? Are you guys using it for official commercial projects, whatever? Or are you still testing stuff?
The first one we used like for a bunch of projects, but like for the last 5 years or so, we have been using Unity at work.
Okay, so yeah,
it's just so we don't have the manpower like Smash
to keep up with the tool development.
Yeah, and
that's a shame. Was that why you decided to open source it, because you weren't really developing it anymore internally?
Yeah, it was like one of the reasons. So I mean, sometimes I do still stuff, but for instance, we don't do any like UI maintenance whatsoever, because like writing UI stuff with WPF is like a pain in the butt. Or at least like if you don't know what you are doing. So maybe like some people, they are really capable with SAML and so on, but I'm not. And so I'm like the least capable developer from the team. And
well, was it you developing the tool? I thought it was Cynic that was mostly developing the tool.
Well, Cynic does all the backend stuff, and I normally do all the UI stuff. And
Okay.
basically, both of them, Perks also wrote a lot of huge chunks of the animation system. And they both said we don't touch this UI. This is this framework is so over-engineered bullshit. It is so it's so complicated and just very, very, very slow. And with now we're using the GUI, and we Cooper talked us into that.
Yes.
And it's a real blessing, I have to say. Really, really happy
It
to
is
use
cool.
that one.
Okay, let's move on with the demos in 6th place, I think. Let me check.
Yeah.
In 6th place, we had Twisted by Floppy, which are some Polish guys. This was an alright demo. Not groundbreaking amazing, but it was pretty solid. I can understand why I ended up in the 6th place. Did you guys have any particular feelings? Do you actually remember this demo?
I did.
Okay.
And also Mock, one of the coders, came to MagFest and gave an entire, he ran a shader compo at MagFest, which was maybe not as awesome as a regular scene shader compo or whatever, but it was pretty good for MagFest. And it was very off the cuff, and we actually pulled some people into the scene because we ran it there, so that was cool. But seeing the final product from him, where I had already not seen, I had seen his shaders and I had seen some of his work, but seeing seeing a full-on prod from him gave me some sort of happy vibes. And this had that sort of nice attitude thing that reminded me of the past, but it was a modern demo, so that was nice too.
But Floppy is an older group, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's pretty old group from the 90s, but they're still active.
But seeing new stuff, I guess that's mostly what I mean. That was nice.
It's really, do you know how it's made? Are they using? Do they have also a tool or something, or are they coding from?
I don't think it's tool. I think it's handmade, but
yeah,
I think it's just coded straight C++.
Wow. I mean, it's a lot of content and thinking, so I was really okay, wow, you put a lot of effort into that.
But I could be wrong. I don't really know.
I think this demo and a lot of other demos, yours too, Pixtur, I really just wish that most of the demos were longer. That's my single most wish. Of all of the demos is just that I was watching them and I mean I know that demo and intro just mean big and small, but so I was watching the demo compo and I was just hoping for at least 5 minutes out of each one, and sometimes something only lasts a minute or 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, it was like an intro that was big.
So much.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is, and I know.
For me, it's easy. I just do one effect and I use it for whole 10 minutes. But for you guys that want to be perfect, you're fucked. You have to put a lot of content on it.
But that's a testament to how much I enjoyed watching most of them. I think that a lot of them were really well done, and if they would have even if they just would have looped, or the time constraints were, we just stretched out each one of the effects to run twice as long or something like that. That would have been nice to take more of it in. And I say that because I just watched. Does anyone remember Unknown Reality for the MSX? It was 36 minutes or something.
Yeah, I think I heard of that one. I haven't seen it completely, but didn't you play it PS before?
It's so long, and every
my
one of the effects is 5 minutes for a text zoomer that doesn't change. I mean, some of the effects are very good quality, and there are some technical achievements, but so I was hoping to hit that middle spot.
No, you want Commodore 64 compos for that. That's when they do those 12-minute demos, not on PC.
I suppose as a chiptune person, 64 is very beloved. But even the modern demos could do that. I wouldn't be.
I mean, they Do you remember like Cosmoplovshi or something?
Oh yes,
Cosmoplovshi tend to do long demos. We did this particular demo that I was actually a coder on for Breakpoint. I don't remember the year. That was like an intro that was 20 minutes with a noise soundtrack.
It was noise, yes. I
Red,
remember.
black, and white. And it was played outside of compo because we knew we would get disqualified. So we asked the organizers to play it outside compo and announce it. And it was cool. It was actually pretty better received than if it would have been played in the compo. A lot of people came and asked me, what the hell was that? I'm like, it's a noise demo. It's art. Either you get something out of it or you don't.
Yeah. But I don't know, like, I mean, like now that you mention it, it's like really interesting to consider. I mean, when we started doing stuff, we eventually had like this guideline. Okay, like if it's always better. People say it's too short and they watch it again, than if they ask themselves, okay, how long is it going to last? Like how is it like one? And this would always be like. But then again, like stuff like Cosmoplovshi, for instance, like I watched like some of these demos like a lot, you know, like Chimera, for instance, also like
the thing with these demos is that you're supposed to get into this introspective mood where you're not really looking at what you're watching, you're actually reflecting on what it reminds you of. So I think most of these demos that are more considered ambient have that thing, and that's why they are so long, because you need like the first 1-2 minutes is pretty much scrapped because you don't really get in the mood that easily. So you need 1-2 minutes just to get into the mood, and then when you are in the mood you try to direct where the mood goes somehow, and this is all very experimental, of course, so sometimes it's easy to do and other times you think you know what you're doing but people just don't get it. So that's my explanation as a maker of those kind of demos. And I try not to make them boring, at least they're not boring for me. When I watch them, I try to always have something slightly changing that will grab your attention or make you think or change the status quo of what you're watching, but it doesn't always happen in all the demos, of course. Anyways, moving on into another very interesting demo, which was also quite ambient, a comeback demo from Preacher. Well, he was never gone, but it's a bit inactive on and off. This demo is really good. Music by Romeo Knight. It's like shoegaze, kind of ambient kind of stuff. I really liked the feeling that it had. And this really deserved a big screen with a big sound system. This was really intense stuff. And so basic in terms of code.
I don't know if it's like it has imperfection code-wise. There are imperfections. We were discussing that with on different channels with. But man, it's beautiful. Like it's beautiful. It is powerful. The way the music is growing on.
Preacher has been exploring a lot this concept of poetry demos, like a demo based out of a poem or trying to recreate a poem, and I think it's really getting to the essence, at least an essence closer to my concept of demo making with these ambient stuff that I usually do, which resonated a bit more with me than his usual poem demos do. So I really like what Preacher has been doing, exploring these kind of things. It's trying to take demo making into a more conceptual place, more artistic place, which is what a lot of people advocate for.
I mean, this could be completely shown as an installation. Like if I think about I live in south of France. I used to live in south of France in Arles, which is an international festival of photography, very big one. And when I see some of the installation, I always think when I see production like that, they could be broadcast at a festival like that, and with absolutely no shame, and probably with having most of the attention, right? So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I think the main difference with art is that in art, you always have the artist explaining you the concept behind. So you would have like 30 minutes of speech about why this is like that, or what I want to represent. We're in demo
Does
scene,
all
we are
art
basically-
really have that? Does it really have? I know usually you have 2 paragraphs of bullshit, and I always consider them bullshit because I look at the art and I look at the description and like, what?
No,
Yeah.
like
I think art should speak for itself. That's my stance on art.
I agree, but there is always a concept in a way, and the artist always have some kind of concept. But the fun is that in art they explain this concept. So they basically they sell their things. Like you cannot create your own one if you start to read the tiny thing.
What?
Hmm.
Okay, someone stopped it and it wasn't me.
Oh,
I didn't touch it.
what happened? It might be me because my Mac is
Go watch it
behaving.
again.
Okay.
Yes, that's our mission and our luck. No, from the start.
Unfortunately, we have to keep going with show, so not from the start. But I do suggest everyone watching this to re-watch this at home with big speakers on a big screen.
I really want to plug in my subwoofer for this one.
I think it's my party favorite. But it's very hard for me between the steel one, the MFX one, and this one. I think this one is... at least the first time we watched it, it was very impactful.
Yeah, I have to watch it again. I'm going to give it like a week or so for me to forget a little bit of the details, and then I'm going to watch it again when the kids asleep with headphones and music really loud, a dark room, and I think it's going to be a really good experience.
Oh, and someone in our chat said, not this one, but back then, remember this movie Sunshine? Yeah, it's science fiction where they go to the sun to try to revive the sun because it's dying.
And there's a horror story behind it.
Somehow.
There's always a horror story whenever there's like a space thing going for a desperate mission. There's always one guy that goes crazy and tries to kill everyone else.
That's true. Now that you say it, like Event Horizon would be, etc.
What was after this demo? Let's take a look. I don't need the
Thank you,
timetable
Pixtur.
anymore.
If you listen to us at one moment, thank you so much for this demo. And a Romeo Knight, of course.
I guess Romeo Knight did the music specifically on Preacher's request because it doesn't feel like the style that Romeo Knight would usually do.
Oh no.
Anyways, moving on. In 4th place, we had Asahi by Futuris. Let's see if I can find it here.
I think that's the... Is that the Unreal demo? I don't remember if it's this one.
I don't find it. It's here.
I mean, on demoscene, there's like this complete playlist from the competition, so...
Yeah, that's the playlist that I got now. But I still have to find the name. I missed all the other names. And it can be tricky.
You think they were trying to appeal to the hearts of the beer drinkers at the scene with this one?
Ah, right, yeah, it's a beer. I'm so lame.
It's subliminal!
I have no clue what beers at all.
Oh yeah, I remember this one now. It looked pretty good. Some people were complaining on the color grading that looked a bit off in some of the scenes. I think overall it was a pretty solid demo.
I think I really love the final part with this invisible raven or something. I think for me the typography is like a little bit, I don't know, like not my cup of tea, but like this, like somehow like in this tree in the final scene there seems to be stuff, but you don't really see it. And I think like this is really nice touch. I really like that.
I was happy with the PC demo compo this year. I think this year was a lot better than last year. Or maybe it just wasn't as overshadowed by the Amiga demo combo being fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's more that size.
I think they were pretty solid. I think the top 8 are pretty solid demos overall.
Oh, but big names also in this demo compo now. Like, you think about the number that we are so happy to see those names back, you know? Like,
Yeah, MFX hadn't been doing anything for a while.
We have MFX on still. We have TPOLM. Like, so.
Yeah, and I mentioned to Eternal Fortress by Basic, which I didn't show because I thought I didn't have video, but apparently I do, so I guess we can show it later on. And there was already a write-up that CCE wrote, so if you want to check the technical stuff behind that, it's the Fractally demo, if you don't remember it. So you should definitely check that.
No aliasing at once, like Fractal with no aliasing, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it now. I don't think we have to watch the whole demo, so I might as well show other stuff as well. Where is Eternal? There we go, Eternal Fortress. And this one is rather short as well, 3 minutes only.
So what do you think about that?
We didn't understand your pixtur. You got chopped.
So what did you think about this production?
This one, I really loved it. I loved the composition, the direction, the camera work on it. I missed some extra stuff to make it more real, and what I thought in specific was missing like dust particles or something like that to make it feel like it's a more real thing. I mean, the what's it called, the smog kinda already gives that impression, but I think some dust would really give it and I said that to CCE a few hours ago, and he said that this was made in like 2 days, so it could have been better, but you know, he just ran out of time.
Okay,
but I really liked the music and the whole ambience, the pace of it.
Yeah,
Very
the music
beautiful.
is stunning. But I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, like I'm being drawn back and forth because it's like so beautiful, but then again, like Mandelbulb always looks beautiful somehow. So I'm yeah.
Fractals have been a little bit explored by the demo scene in the past, so you kind of seen it already. But it's still cool to see something made.
Again, like, what is very special for this one is that if you really look, there is no flicker. Everything is very smooth, like extremely smooth.
Yeah.
And this is a big change. Like, this is most of the rendering in the demo scene for Fractals is always like flashy. It has like artifact everywhere.
Yeah.
This one looks like a movie, like an export on Mandelbulb. But this is real time. And if you know how much time it takes on Mandelbulb to do a render, you know that well. It's nice.
Someone I was watching this with said he really wanted to fly through this as a level.
Yeah.
Something, and that's me all the way.
Yeah, I remember like doing a demo with like Mandelbulb. It's like somebody wrote like a waymarker from me. I think like Matt or so, or like 7, I don't know. And I think I spent like a couple of days flying through like the Mandelbulb.
Just enjoying yourself.
Like, yeah, I mean like for me like this sometime like a very long time ago I studied architecture, and this was like oh my god, like this is like really crazy. So I can completely see like flying through Mandelbulbs. It's a thing.
Plus, this soft has so many different fractals that are very different than what we think about fractals, basically. And you can really explore shapes that are very not just repeating like a typical fractal, but more organic.
Our scene has come a long time since Fractant.
Yes. And POV, as you see.
This one got third place, Cocoon. NTSC bringing yet another demo. He's like a factory of making demos. Looking really good. Some people were
That's
complaining
right
that the
here.
music succumbed to the loudness wars. Well, Ronnie in particular was complaining about it. That it could have been better if he wasn't like completely compressed to death. But I think it still worked pretty well.
The amount of viruses was not that isn't the unofficial theme. Just
Why do people give a red color to Corona anyways? Like, that's racist. It
Evil,
could be
doom,
any color.
blood,
You don't know.
death.
It's microscopic. It's. You don't know what color it is.
I know. I wonder what the Black Death and the Black Plague have to say about red.
I think for me it's more like a marker. You know, like you don't color the virus, you color the person who has the virus.
The Black Plague was because people actually turned black. So I know that
Okay.
much. Yeah, pretty solid demo overall. A lot of cool effects. And different from what usually Cocoon does, which is good. Like different colors, not the green that were used from Cocoon. It still had the skull though. I think NTSC doesn't know how to make a demo without including a skull at this point.
No, it's part of the logo. It's not a skull. It's just like it's somehow it's a hidden logo in
It's their
Cocoon. And if you go
trademark.
back long ago, yeah, it's there since a long time. So it's not just for fun or for. It's been there for a long, long time.
It makes me jealous.
This was a great part.
Like with the two
The
people.
fluid dynamics is just
Yeah, also like not only like the effect, but also like the whole light setup of like the floor and the background. So it's really, really beautiful.
Yep. So Cocoon, they ended up in 3rd place. In 2nd place, we had MFX and Olon, which was my personal
Oh my
favorite.
god. Yeah.
My personal favorite of the compo. If I can find, here it is. Doesn't work very well on the encoder, but you'll have
But
to
you
live
can
with
watch it on your browser because it's already available. And all.
And according to abductee, you should try playing it a little bit faster or a little bit slower, and it will improve a lot, according to his tests. I was just happy to see Uncle X doing demos again.
Oh yes.
He has this particular aesthetic of glittering visuals that really work very well. I was completely convinced that this was soundtrack by LB, but turns out it's not. Synthesi and Bagur, or Bagoof, I think it's his name. Really tight
Lasers.
electronic music.
Electro. You want to speak in Italian when you see stuff like that.
Electro music.
Electro. Very Doppler effectish, you know?
Yeah, some people in the chat were saying that as well. Not sure if it was you or not while the demo was playing.
Maybe.
lasers. Well, I'll say this, at least now I don't have to look straight into the lasers that the DJ brought. I can just watch this instead.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean it as an insult. I just mean this is probably what you'd see if you'd be able to see it.
Like a little smoke effect
really good.
here and there.
Yeah, it has this very old school VHS effect also. It feels like a videotape basically, a bit like X-Max.
Yeah, there was like a camera there that got like affected on the lens or something.
Yeah.
Yep, Yonek, this is the after party. Just going over the highlights. We're almost at the end of our show though. We're already reaching the PC demo compo. This got second place MFX in Olan. And we have one more demo to watch, which was the VX2 by Spectrals. A relatively, well, it was new coders, but old people from the demo scene. Is that correct, Alkama?
So I will explain. This is really like treated as a completely new big group, because Made has been in the group. Like they had the idea of this demo like 5 months ago, I think, while eating some good raclette, French cheese, of course. But basically, so Made was inside the group at the origin of the group, but all the other members are new people. They follow the scene since a long time. They love it, but never contributed anything.
Okay.
And barely dreamt about contributing anything. And again, like when you are a noob, you don't realize that revision is kind of crazy to go for a first demo, and you do it. So that's what they did, so they worked a lot. They have their own tool. They use some Git, exactly like pixtur and more. So and I've looked at the code, and it's very impressive. Like they have a nice. It's not completely polished yet, but it's very well done.
And you say the concept for the demo was from Made that came, or from one of the other guys?
I think after thinking about, after brainstorming or having an idea, let's make a demo, Made came up with a complete storyboard.
That's a really strange thing, because the demo is so lines, not really art. So
when I say storyboard, it's really a storyboard of what kind of effect, like the idea of saying, oh, we found an old console that never went out, we'll talk about the story of this console, etc. That's exactly what, like that's the storyboard. And then Made is always into the details, extremely into the details. So he basically made like a movie with all the
storyboard for the.
And then they split between like 4 coders or 5 coders and 2 graphicians, and they started making every scene almost independently and building them. And the fun is that I am not in this project at all initially. So,
you just did the music for it.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago, apparently their musician dropped them or something like that. Or the initial plan failed, and they started to go into the normal channel of the demo scene and ask for a musician contribute. And Rez said, "Oh, there is a group looking for a musician." I said, they went sent wave, and I sent the track that I did for Evoke as a joke, you know. Albert Kamasutra or something like that. And instantly Made contact me, so I didn't understand the link. I say, yeah, they need a music, but it's like 5 minutes. It's very short to make a track in less than 2 weeks. That is 5 minutes long. And basically, what happened is that the 5 minutes turned into 7.5, which was for me a complete, absolute nightmare. And nothing was really synced to block that could work for a team and all. So every single night of the last week, they exported me a new video, and I bought a plugin on Ableton Live to set the video to the audio, and I basically wrote the video segment by block of 16, up to the greetings, where basically it was impossible to resync what they had already done. So I had to adapt the whole half of the music to things that cannot be synced. So we sync to the closest measure, let's say, and adjust it so that it fits. And I basically wrote it like if I had a movie, a video player, and having to do it. And it was tons of work. I hate the music now because I listen to it too much. But I'm very, very happy that they won. And again, like, don't think that it's old school scenario making a new group. It's not the case at all. It's absolute newbie in the scene, passionate about the scene.
Oh, cool that Mate converted some new people to make demos then.
Basically, it's exactly that. And they knew the scene from far away.
Yeah, they just haven't contributed.
At all. And they never saw it. So we said always like, hey, it's already cool to be at Revision presenting something, etc. We worked a lot, at least the last week for me, because they worked for a long time. That means just maybe 3 or 4 days before the party to really make the track and finish it. So it's been a fun ride, but all the credit is for them. Made it fantastic.
You have a fan on chat. Micron says that VX2 is my new and current all favorite #1. Thinking about to take a Vectrex 2 tattoo. Can I have Spectral's baby, Alkama?
Oh my goodness. But again, don't...
And he says that the soundtrack also reminds him a little bit last year's Adapt demo, Surfaced.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
So basically, in the soundtrack, made super fast, I made tiny Easter eggs that I will reveal for you, but of course you all heard the Marauder that is here.
Yeah,
which
Marauder,
is a bit of a side because you know what the history of Marauder and the demo scene is. Like there have been some kind of fun drama. So it's not an homage because I like this track a lot. But it's also to make a little a little hello. You do that, we can. And also there are 2 other homages that are really that I love is in the Ocean scene. The start of the scene is actually the start of the music of an album that changed my life. From a group called Space Art. Album is called Onyx. They did music in the 80s. Listen to that and you will see that the first 4 notes are exactly the same of Space Art Onyx. And their album is sublime. And there is a Daft Punk reference also in the track. The end of one solo is exactly one track in Discovery albums. Easter eggs.
So the demo is gonna get taken down by the MCA quite soon as they recognize the same melodies.
I don't think so. It's cover enough and it's not a lot of borrowing.
It's not ripping. It's tribute.
Homage, yeah, exactly. Exactly for the scene, I don't.
Did you hear of this project of these research guys that just made all the possible combinations of 8 melodies, and they just registered them as they patented it for themselves, and then they made it public domain, so that no one can sue anyone for any 8 melodies sequence anymore ever, because all of them have already been made.
I think as long as you have trials, you will always have people able to win anything of that. But, it's...
Well, okay, so we're reaching the end.
Do
you want to say anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up this stream. It's already been going on long enough. We reached the end of the compos that were at revision. I think it was a really good revision. I think it turned out pretty well, all things considering. The effort that the organizers had to go through to change everything last minute to be streamed online. I think it worked pretty well. Do you guys agree?
I think it was as good as it could have been. You know, I mean, there will always be ways to improve. You know, we'll figure out how to, you know, do transitions between cameras, between different places better, and little stuff like that. You know, cutting off Truck more often. You know,
Truck was telling me issues about that. Like their whole setup system was developed in these 2 weeks to have video conferencing working properly. So it was very stressful for them to set up, and clearly still has some glitches, but it was working. So
it was working really well. We as demo sceners do, we work extremely well within our limitations. You know, will it get better? Yes, probably. Did we learn some things? Yes, probably. But like, was it great? Yes. You know, like we really did.
We saw the stuff. We saw people talking about the stuff.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for?
You know, it is what I think I would have expected, not knowing anything going in, and that speaks volumes.
Yep. Okay, so that's it from this live stream. Thank you guys for joining. Alkama, inversephase, abductee earlier on, and pixtur, our little surprise guest. Even for him, he didn't know what he was getting himself into. Thank you guys for joining in. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. And that's it. See you next time, next stream. Bye bye, everyone. Take care.
Make demos, make demos.
Yeah, make more demos.